Hi, I'm Jen,
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Neil.
and you're listening to Every Rom-Com, the podcast where we have fun taking romantic comedies seriously.
This week on Every Rom-Com, we're continuing our high school movie series with the last of John Hughes's 1980s teen films.
We'll talk about the many issues the film brings up, including falling in love with a friend, class differences, and how hard it can be to break away from your parents' plans for your life.
And we'll cover a great cast featuring Mary Stuart Masterson, Eric Stoltz, and Lea Thompson as we explore the 1987 film Some Kind of Wonderful. Hello, Sophia.
Hi, Jen.
Welcome back to high school.
Oh my gosh, so true. I'm like totally in my brain about high school. I can't stop. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I'm really excited to be doing this movie with you today, and I'm also really excited to be doing this movie today with our guest. Today on Every Romcom, we're joined by Neil. He's a new guest. I met him through Film Twitter, where he puts together a fun and friendly feed, which attracts tons of film fans. Was that like way too much alliteration? But it's all true.
No, I didn't feel that at all.
So I noticed that Neil often included Some Kind of Wonderful in his lists of favorites. So I reached out to him to join us today. Neil is passionately drawn to John Hughes films and 80s cinema in general. He's also an amateur photographer with a love for food, adventure, and witty banter. You can find Neil on Twitter at Neil Believes and also on Instagram at Neil WB Photography. There's always a great welcoming vibe in his community over on Twitter. I really recommend checking it out. And he takes some really beautiful photographs over on Instagram. So I'm super excited to learn more about Neil today. And so, Neil, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate all those kind words, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I love Some Kind of Wonderful.
So Neil, when we were having our preliminary conversation just before the podcast, you said this is actually your first podcast appearance. That totally floors me because you have just so many people that you talk about film with on Twitter.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many great people, the community, and just even coming across every rom-com is just amazing because I've listened, like we had spoken previously about the episodes I've listened to, and there's a great sense of community that you really hug your audience with a lot of great knowledge and information and breaking down films. So it's a great honor to be on with you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm honored to have you on because seriously, like when I found your Twitter account, I was like, wow, this guy is really like, he's got all these people that follow him and like he's so kind to people and has these great conversations and sets up these great questions for people. Like, and I looked at when you started your Twitter, it was like in 2021 and you have so many followers. Like, how did you come up with the idea to get on Twitter and start this kind of movie account? And how did you like build such a community like so quickly?
So I started Twitter a long time ago, and then this is a really like interesting experience. Obviously, with the pandemic, I had a Neil Blues account before this one, and then I had to restart all over from zero. And now where we're at is we're mutually following each other. So it's a great community of people that just love talking about film, especially during the pandemic when a lot of us were home, and it just kind of brought up memories of films and different films to discuss. And every day it's just a different challenge and more people coming in. It feels like I kind of describe it to kind of having like a big conference with a lot of people and then different people coming in and out of the room, but the conversation keeps going. And I think that's the core reason why I'm on Twitter, just to what we love about movies and what places it takes us back to, memories that we have and where we could possibly go and be even more creative. So that whole experience of just a community of people, it's not me, it's everybody. We're all
Oh,
in it together
wow.
and just having a great conversation. So I think it's fun.
Oh,
Nice.
wow. You guys make me want to be on Twitter. I've never done it, but I'm like, oh, this is good stuff.
Please join, please.
Oh, okay. I should do it. Bite the bullet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, in contrast to like some corners of Twitter, it's just a very friendly environment among you and your followers. And yeah, I really find that great because I like to follow positive people for the most part, you know?
Absolutely. And there's this funny, I've like kind of like different rules I try to do just to keep everything positive. And because there are some negative feedback, I do get some negative feedback on some films, like really negative feedback. Some people can make it really personal about me, but at the end of the day, it's really about the film. So if I understand whatever that is, but for me, it's about positivity, and I think that's what a lot of people just like go on Twitter, kind of a break from reality in a sense. So it's kind of like a way for us to kind of express ourselves and have fun, and that's what life should be.
Yeah,
Oh, I
totally.
love that. I love that. That's wonderful.
So I know you have like more than one account on Twitter too, but like if your main account focuses on films, and how long have you been like a lover of films?
I've been in love with films forever. It feels like I've just always had a appreciation for cinema, and even we're talking about John Hughes, Home Alone. I still have the VHS here. And I saw a Twitter question asking, "What's the oldest thing in your place?" And that's actually it, the Home Alone VHS in my place
Wow.
here. This is the oldest thing I own, and so I've had a love for John Hughes, but also a love for cinema. And back in the day, I remember they used to show '80s movies all the time on Comedy Central, and we used to have this channel, a WB11 over here, and they would show all. Well, I'm in North Jersey, but so they would show a lot of older movies and things that it just felt like this is a part of what my life currently. And I grew up with a lot of Gen X people, let's say, so I officially think of
Mhm.
myself as Gen X. So even though I was born in '87, I don't know how that all works out, but so I grew up on MTV at a very young age. I grew up on a lot of movies from the past, watching The Breakfast Club, Some Kind of Wonderful, Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, and so that to me was just like fascinating. My love for cinema really started just from watching a lot of movies from the past and really feeling and then being friends with people that also were movie lovers too. So
Yeah.
you have your own inside references. You ever have that where you
Oh,
quote
yeah.
movie references to each other?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I
Yeah.
just got a hold of a sticker that said I'm fluent in movie quotes. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
That's fantastic. So in addition to movies, you also work on photography. You said you're an amateur photographer. And when did your interest in photography develop? And like, do you have any exhibitions or like plans to share your photos outside of Instagram, or what's going on with your photos these days? That's a lot of questions in one. I'm really sorry.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that I take nice pictures. It's really my love for it really started. My dad would take a lot of pictures, just family photos and everything. But my love for it really started was when he would go to get it developed, and there was this nice man and family that actually owned the photography place, the store. I forgot even what the name of the place was, but I remember just when they were making developing pictures, the smell of that, I just loved it,
Hmm.
and I just loved being there and being seeing different family photos get made in the process of that. So until when I was in high school is when I joined a photography class that we had, and taking pictures for that was a pretty cool experience. But here's another thing. So at my parents' place, they had two different paint. They had a painting of like a landscape, and they also had the New York City skyline. And I noticed that a lot of the pictures I take are of the New York City skyline and
Yep.
landscapes. It was just something subliminal. I don't know. Maybe it was because it was
Mm.
there, and they it's like, oh, we just had that around. We didn't know that you'd actually be drawn to it, and then start looking to take pictures. That's what happened. So I really love just being out in nature and just it's just an experience. Being able to capture a moment like a sunset. I love doing that, but I also try to put my phone down and just really appreciate what that is and just being present. And I think that's part of bringing that what I'm seeing and witnessing to everybody else.
Love
That's
it.
awesome. Yeah. So, I would love to talk to you more about photography. I wish we had more time just for that.
Yeah.
But we're going to refocus on our topic of our podcast now. And since this is a rom-com podcast, we always like to ask our guests, do you have like one or two like favorite rom-coms that you would go to?
Do I have a favorite? I secretly love all of them. I was just thinking about When Harry Met Sally,
Yeah.
and I was just, it might sound like some of the typical ones, but I really like that. I was watching Sliding Doors a couple of weeks ago. I really like that one.
Love
Just
Sliding Doors. That's a popular one in my house.
absolutely. It's just, it makes you think too, like just a
Mhm.
chance, an opportunity of meeting people.
Mhm.
And Some Kind of Wonderful is actually my favorite. As you had mentioned on Twitter, I mention it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I try not to, just like, all right, I've already answered it on one question here, so I'll try to not do this. But just movies like those, and I like The Notebook. I'm not gonna lie, the ending, it really gets to me. So
Nice.
Oh, The Notebook. Mm-hmm.
No, When Harry Met Sally is my favorite. I don't care if it's like you expect it, because of course you expect it because it's a classic. So yeah. And yeah, I love that you said you secretly love all of them. You don't have to keep it a secret here. Like our audience will just like flock to you if you want to
That's
talk about
right.
rom-coms. Yeah.
absolutely.
So speaking of flocking to you, can you tell people again where they can interact with your I guess your work? Because like having a really great Twitter feed like that is work, and of course photography is beautiful work to look at. Where can they find you?
You can find me at Neil Believes, Neil Believes. And that's a funny thing about the username. Speaking of positivity, I believe in positivity, and I think just using that name would just mean like, oh, there's something there, believing in something. Let's say believing in peace.
Oh,
So
I love it.
whatever way you could phrase it, but Neil Believes on Twitter, and then Neil WB Photography on Instagram. I do have a book I'm working on secretly, but I'm just dropping secrets here and there for you guys just because I'm on. So
Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. I'll look forward to when you have that ready. Yeah. So before we get started today, a few notes. First, as usual, there will be a spoiler-free section at the beginning of the episode, and we will warn you when the spoilers are about to start.
We'd also like to remind you that you can follow the podcast on social media. Our Facebook page is Every Romcom Podcast and Blog. Our Instagram is at Every Romcom, and our Twitter handle is at Every Romcom Pod.
And as always, you can find the podcast at everyromcom.com. Send us feedback at feedback@everyromcom.com. And if you like what you hear, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us.
And finally, if you enjoy the show, please consider donating to our Buy Me a Coffee page at buymeacoffee.com/everyromcom. All donations will be used towards production and hosting the podcast. And now, let's listen to the trailer for Some Kind of Wonderful.
Wanted to know if maybe you wanted to go out. I'm going out with a girl tonight, and she's beautiful, and everybody's in love with her, and she's going out with me.
Just want you to get off the dime and think about your future.
She's beautiful and obviously in the middle of some emotional shootout to consent to date the human tater tot.
This is 1987. Did you know that a girl can be whatever she wants to be?
I know, my mom's a plumber.
I'd recommend you keep your eyes and your mind off my property.
Cut it out.
Why don't you mind your own business?
Really, it must be a drag to be a slave to the male sex drive.
I didn't say anything about sex.
Oh, want to start a book club with her?
Anytime somebody from the outside lifts a woman from a quat like Jen's, man, we could all find cause to rejoice.
You walk out on me, where are you gonna go?
I want to show this girl that I'm as good as anybody else.
I know how you feel.
You've been in love before.
There's a lot of things you don't know about me.
You got a shot to be the first guy in his family who didn't have to wash his hands after a day's work.
Break his heart and break your face. Do you miss miss me, Keith? Do you miss not being around me?
This isn't the third grade anymore.
Oh, you're only 18 years old.
Then I'm 19, then I'm 20. When does my life belong to me?
All right, so some information about Some Kind of Wonderful. So I was delighted to see that Some Kind of Wonderful actually came out on my birthday, my 10th birthday. So it came out, it came out on February 27th, 1987. Somewhere I was turning 10 years old. I had no idea one of my favorite rom-coms of all time was being released. There you go.
Awesome.
It's directed by Howard Deutsch. It's written by John Hughes. And it stars Eric Stoltz, Mary Stuart Masterson, and Lea Thompson.
So our basic premise of the film is about Keith and Watts being best friends. And Keith is an aspiring artist who works after school at a gas station. Watts is a drummer with an unhappy family life. Keith becomes interested in the pretty and popular Amanda Jones, who's dating a rich jerk named Hardy Jens. When Keith starts asking Watts about what she thinks of Amanda, Watts gets jealous and tells Keith it's pointless for a guy like him to try to date a popular girl. Keith is oblivious to Watts' jealousy and can't tell that Watts is into him. When Amanda discovers that Hardy is cheating on her, Keith asks her out, and Amanda says yes to spite Hardy. Keith begins planning his date with Amanda, but as the situation becomes more complicated, will the date become romantic or combative, and who will fall in love with whom? Dun, dun.
Da, da, da. We
Dun,
both
dun,
did it.
I know. Because that's
So
it. It's a bit of a triangle. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of interesting facts about Some Kind of Wonderful. Some Kind of Wonderful was Howard Deutsch's second feature directing job. He had previously directed Pretty in Pink for John Hughes. So a lot of these John Hughes films, we just think of them as John Hughes films, but he didn't actually direct them all. Molly Ringwald rejected the role of Watts as she felt the film was too similar to Pretty in Pink. And speaking of similarities to Pretty in Pink, her co-stars from that movie, John Cryer and Andrew McCarthy, were both considered for the role of Keith. And Michael J. Fox was offered the role of Keith and turned it down. So
I could see Andrew McCarthy out of those three, but not John Cryer. It would be different with Michael J. Fox, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Definitely. Mary Stuart Masterson was then the first actor hired to play Watts. According to the book, You Couldn't Ignore Me If You Tried, and I'll put that in the show notes, a link to the sources, of course. Masterson was allowed to give notes on the early drafts of Some Kind of Wonderful screenplay. So she said in the book, quote, I gave all these notes like, this character is written as a tomboy, but I don't think tomboy is necessarily a woman that wants to be a man. It's somebody who's just not willing to be a slave to the feminine manipulative paradigm, end quote.
High five. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm really glad they had her input on the screenplay, like as a whole, because I think like having that woman's insight to what it means to be kind of like a woman who doesn't really fit in with like what we're supposed to be, quote unquote. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I have thoughts about her character and like whose movie is it and stuff like that. We could talk about that later.
Ooh, very good.
Absolutely. I was thinking about Watts too and how she relates to someone watching the movie now as well, because she was just not someone you could fit in the box. She was herself. And I just love Watts is actually one of my favorite John Hughes characters, probably my favorite John Hughes character, let's say ever. So
I love that.
She's my favorite John Hughes character, like full stop. Yeah, I love her. I relate to her more than any of the others. So one early draft of the script had Watts' character named Keith after drummer Keith Moon from The Who, but Masterson advised them to change the name. They then changed the name to Watts after Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones. And the character name Amanda Jones is also a nod to the Rolling Stones. They have a song called Miss Amanda Jones, and you will hear that played in the soundtrack both as a cover song and the original Rolling Stones song as well. In early drafts, the character of Amanda was also rich, but it was changed to make her lower middle class like Keith and Watts. And early drafts of the script were also wackier and more comedic, and Keith's character was kind of more of a loser. So this one blew my mind. Masterson said in one of these books I read that The original opening scene, quote, "The opening scene used to be him, well, how do I say it politely, making love to a pillow."
Oh. I'm just so glad we have what we have, the finished product that we have now. Like, I'm glad it wasn't over the top, comedic, wacky. It's because I think it's just such a, like, stands the test of time film for what it is. So, phew, thanks. Glad
Yeah.
those changes were made.
The original opening sounds like a proto-American Pie almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't really care for movies like that. So,
So during the pre-production stage, director Howard Deutsch asked John Hughes if he could direct a different Hughes script instead, Oil and Vinegar. According to Deutsch in the book John Hughes, A Life in Film, Hughes seemed to agree to this change, but then the next day Deutsch went to the studio and found himself locked out. And he was replaced for a while on Some Kind of Wonderful by Martha Coolidge, who had directed Valley Girl and Real Genius. And now the story gets really interesting because Coolidge, in partnership with Hughes, changed the script to be darker and more focused on class issues. Coolidge was also the one to hire Eric Stoltz. So as much as like Howard Deutsch directed this film, John Hughes wrote it, I think we're already seeing Coolidge had a huge influence on the direction of the film, away from that comedic, wacky kind of focus. So Coolidge also brought in Kim Delaney to play Amanda and Kyle MacLachlan to play Hardy, which would have been wild. And she brought in Maddie Corman to play Laura, Keith's younger sister. Interesting story about Maddie Corman, who's still in the movie. Her mother had just had a stroke when she had her call back for the role. She didn't know the result of her audition, but she lied and told her mom that she had gotten the part. And then her mom died like a week later. Corman called being cast in the movie a godsend because it gave her and her brother and her father something to focus on after her mother's death when they were all feeling lost.
Yeah, I saw that interview like on special features on the DVD. That blew my mind. Oh my gosh.
So Corman was kept on the final version of the film, but several people were about to be replaced. So Hughes became unhappy with Coolidge's direction. There's a lot of stories as to why they don't all match with each other. And he brought Deutsch back to replace her. Delaney and MacLachlan were then also fired, and several crew members quit after Coolidge was fired. So some of the remaining actors, especially Stoltz, felt pretty angry that they were expected to continue production as if nothing had happened. This all happened very quickly. And this resulted in a tense first read through where Hughes threw a chair due to the actors' listless performances.
Whoa.
And then Stoltz also threw a chair and let Hughes know how they felt about the situation. So according to Stoltz, Hughes' wife, Nancy, served as a peacemaker and smoothed things over so everyone could work together. Interestingly, if you look at the end credits of Some Kind of Wonderful, there's a "with special thanks to Nancy Hughes" in the credits. I'm wondering if that's the reason.
I saw that. I'm like, that's yes. All I thought that was interesting, and I like this little bit of history.
So despite the tension on set, Stoltz was the one who reached out to Lea Thompson to get her into the movie because they had worked on some movies together, including Back to the Future, which Stoltz had been fired from.
It is interesting the connection this movie has to Back to the Future, especially earlier. You say Michael J. Fox was offered a role.
Sure, right. In Some Kind of Wonderful, like they're all being offered the same parts, right?
Yeah. So Lea Thompson agreed to be in the movie partly because she was fresh off of failures on Howard the Duck and Space Camp. So she needed some work. And Stoltz had to hang in on the movie because he couldn't be fired from 2 movies in a row. That would have looked bad. Okay, so the sort of iconic cover image for the movie, the poster image, was photographed by Annie Leibovitz, which I found interesting. I couldn't find a budget for Some Kind of Wonderful, like anywhere. But it grossed only $18 million, which was the lowest box office for a Hughes film at that point. I wonder why. I really wonder.
I was going to say maybe because it's a little bit serious, but so was Pretty in Pink. Like they had a more, I would say mature tone more than like ha 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 comedy kind of thing. Because I guess also were people thinking, oh, it's just like Pretty in Pink, but like,
I don't know. Like, I wonder if it's just there was a proliferation of other teen films by then, but I'm not sure either. Yeah. Any thoughts, Neil?
Yeah, I'm wondering that too, especially the point about it might be thinking of, hey, it might be similar to Pretty in Pink, but it's a totally different movie, though,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Right.
Feel like have a different feel to that. And we were talking about just other '80s movies. There were a lot of like over the top '80s movies. This one was a lot more mature and realistic. It felt so. It is
Hmm.
surprising.
Yeah, yeah. Despite the fact it didn't do well at the box office, it was well received by many critics. Roger Ebert concluded his review by saying, "Some Kind of Wonderful is yet another film in which Hughes and his team show a special ability to make an entertaining movie about teenagers, which is also about life, about insecurity, about rejection, about learning to grow. I sometimes have the peculiar feeling that the kids in Hughes's movies are more grown up than the adults in most of the other ones." So the movie also led to personal happiness for two members of the cast and crew. Lea Thompson and Howard Deutsch hit it off on set, began dating after the movie wrapped, and were married in 1989. They are still married today and have two children, Madeline Deutsch and Zoe Deutsch, who are both also actors. So wow, it's always fun when people meet like their true love on the set of a movie.
Yeah, pretty great.
So I just want to really briefly say, if you're interested in learning more about this film or John Hughes films in general, I have a works cited in our show notes that you can always go and check out what books I read, because I think you might find them interesting too. Okay, so let's talk about our general opinion of the film. And actually, I want to start with Neil this week. Do you remember when you first saw the film? Like, what did you think of it then? Like, what like attracted you to this movie?
What attracted me was because of John Hughes, really. And I watched the movie when I was a lot younger. I can't remember put the actual time period on it, but it was definitely when I was like around like 8 or 9. There are a lot of things I didn't understand, but through the years of watching it, was able to fully grasp more. But then it also had Leah Thompson, who I'd seen in Back to the Future, and I was a fan of hers, and Mary Stuart Masterson, who I'm a big fan of as well. So my general impression was just it feels like more realistic, and it's talking about different classes here. And when I went to high school and even elementary school during that time period when I first saw it, there was just different subgroups or different groups of popularity and people that hung around with each other. It's kind of it is realistic to think of just Keith asking Amanda Jones out, and people were just kind of being surprised about that. And that was something that would be relatable to what I had experienced in elementary school, high school, so and different groups of people that were around each other. So it really spoke to my heart about what's going on that I saw every day, and seeing it on film was just even more amazing, especially if you watch the whole movie and the ending, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
have you watched it a lot, like over the years? Like, do you have like copies of it and so forth, or like?
Yes, I have watched it a lot over the years. I used to have the DVD of it a long time ago, but I can't seem to find that. But in general, though, I've seen it a lot, and it takes on a different meaning when you watch something, both from when you were really young to when you're in your teens to now I'm in my mid 30s. So it really means something different, but it's still relatable though, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Sophia, what's been your experience with the film?
I mean, love at first sight. Um, I don't remember how old I was when I saw it. Probably, like a year after it came out, I would assume, and renting DVDs and stuff like that. So young, 10, 11, probably. And it's just been a mainstay. But I've never owned it, interestingly enough. But I watched it a lot. I rented it a lot. And then I probably had a bunch of years where I didn't see it, and then maybe it came up again, and I'm like, yeah, still really good, still the best. How about you?
This is the John Hughes movie I've seen the most times, I'm pretty sure. So I have a VHS tape of it. I don't think it's from when it originally came out. It's probably from when the video store was selling stuff or something like that,
Mhm.
selling off stuff. But yeah, I watched it when I was young. I always really loved Watts. Like, I wanted to be a drummer at a certain point, and she's a drummer. And I was called a boy sometimes in elementary school because I was like tall and I had short hair and stuff like that. And so like I was called a lesbian sometimes, as an insult, like the way Watts is also called a lesbian. Because I didn't like fit in with like, I guess what, the feminine manipulative paradigm is what Mary Stuart Masterson called it. I was different. So Watts was like sort of an icon for me, like as a character, right? I just identified
Mhm.
with her. I loved her. So watched it many, many times over the years. In college, I think I had a brief re-obsession with it because I got really into the soundtrack. I especially love, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in one of the scenes. The song She Loves Me. I love that song. Put it on so many mixtapes. I put the Can't Help Falling in Love with You by the Celtic Band on so many mixtapes as well. Just so the music became like part of my thing for the movie too. And yeah, I mean, the movie still holds up for me. I think on this last rewatch, the pieces shouldn't all work together in some ways, okay? And I'll talk about some of the things I don't love about the movie as we go on. But yet, when I think about it, the very fact that it's sort of incongruent and clunky, I almost kind of like it, because so many of our movies today are overproduced and they have to fit this exact like outline, right? And they can't have anything weird or like, off key in them, right? They have to be like set for streaming so no one will like click away. So I like that there's a movie that takes its time and meanders around and has some just like weird shit in it, right? That isn't put there as calculatedly weird. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it is. It's the one I watch the most, honestly. And like you said, I watch it almost every year. And there are just some John Hughes movies that it's just that Home Alone. Obviously, I watch every year too. But The Breakfast Club is my favorite. But that's something I have to be there, like to watch in that time frame or in that mood. But Some Kind of Wonderful I could watch anytime, and I just love watching it because it always cheers me up. But I can relate to the characters like you're saying, like Watts. And there's a theme in a lot of John Hughes movies I identified with, of just the sense of belonging and who are you. And you might be assigned a role, or people might think you're this, but you're really not. And we're not all meant to fit in a box, or we're all meant to be ourselves. So I think that's what just beautiful about, I love about Watts in this movie, is just standing out and breaking the boundaries that the people try to conform to, or conform us to.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
Love it.
Okay, so now let's talk about our cast and crew.
So, John Hughes is, of course, the writer of Some Kind of Wonderful, but we'll cover him in a future episode on 16 Candles. We'll also hopefully get around to covering Howard Deutsch in the future for his work on Pretty in Pink.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about one of our stars in the movie, Eric Stoltz, who plays Keith. He was born in 1961, and as a young child, he lived in American Samoa until his family moved to Santa Barbara. I think it says his family were teachers, so that's probably why they were living abroad, but who knows. He began stage acting when he was young. He studied at USC, but then he dropped out his junior year, moved to New York, and studied acting with Stella Adler and Peggy Feury. I'm guessing on that pronunciation. Sorry, audience. In 1978, he began getting TV work, but he made his film debut in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, credited as Stoner Bud. In 1985, he had his breakout role with the lead role in Mask, which co-starred Cher. I've still not seen Mask. I really got to get on that. But just prior to Some Kind of Wonderful, Stoltz had been replaced by Michael J. Fox for the lead role in Back to the Future. So again, despite any difficulties he had on the set, he had to keep going with Some Kind of Wonderful and not get fired from that film. Stoltz continued to appear in movies in the late 80s. Nothing that is particularly well known today, I have to say, but I'm kind of intrigued. I saw he's in a movie about Byron and Shelley called Haunted Summer. And then he's in a movie, The Fly 2, with Daphne Zuniga. Like, have either of you seen that?
No, but I remember previews.
I've seen parts of it, but not fully, if I can recall.
I got to check it out one of these days. He also apparently had a small role in Say Anything, but I can't say that I remember that. And he made his Broadway debut in the late 80s too. He had a Tony-nominated performance in Our Town, and he's since appeared in other theater productions. So the 90s is kind of when things began to pick up for Eric Stoltz. Like, I remember him all over in the 90s. He starred in movies including Memphis Belle, The Water Dance, Bodies, Rest in Motion, Killing Zoe, and Sleep With Me. Sleep With Me is the movie that has the really crazy Tarantino speech where he does the Top Gun thing. So maybe that's how he ended up in 1994 playing Lance in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. I don't know. So after Stoltz played Lance in Pulp Fiction, in the second half of the 90s, he had a lot more work. He appeared in projects including Little Women, Rob Roy, Kicking and Screaming, Allison Anders' film Grace in My Heart, Mr. Jealousy, Anaconda, which I also still haven't seen. It has like everybody in it one of these days. and in recurring roles in the TV shows Mad About You and Chicago Hope. And some of his 2000s work included The House of Mirth, another Allison Anders film, Things Behind the Sun. I'm calling those out because she's a great director and people should check out her stuff.
Yep.
The Butterfly Effect, and a regular role on the TV show Caprica. In 2001, he also began directing with the TV movie My Horrible Year, and he directed several shorts and episodes of TV in the 2000s too, including shows like Boston Legal, Grey's Anatomy, and Private Practice. I had no idea he was a director until I started researching for this show, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah. So Stoltz continued to act in the 2010s, but much of his work is now as a producer and director. Some of his acting work includes the movies Fort McCoy and Her Smell. And his main work in the 2010s was producing, directing, and sometimes acting on the show Madam Secretary from 2014 to 2019. He also directed 12 episodes of Glee.
Whoa.
That blew my mind. In 2017, he also directed his first two features, and both are teen movies, Class Rank and Confessions of a Teenage Jesus Jerk. Most recently, Stoltz has produced, directed, and appeared on the TV show Bull, and had an appearance on the TV show The Good Fight. And I didn't see any upcoming projects for Stoltz, but hopefully he keeps going with some interesting stuff.
For sure. So I'll be talking about Lea Thompson, who plays Amanda Jones. She was born in 1961 in Rochester, Minnesota. Yay, Minnesota. She was a ballerina before coming to Hollywood and started dancing professionally by age 14. Thompson gave up ballet when Mikhail Baryshnikov said she was too stocky and not flexible enough to join his American ballet theater troupe. And if you see pictures from that time, I don't know what the fuck he was talking about.
It's like, she does not have any ill will towards Baryshnikov. I just want to put it in that interview. She said he was right. And the flexibility we can't tell from a picture. So
True. I know. I understand that, but still makes me pull out my hair. Thompson does say that she's grateful as she was steered away from ballet and towards acting. So her first real movie credit was in 1983, Jaws 3D. And
Woo!
also, did you see that?
I like Jaws 3D. I'm one of the only people who likes it. So there you go.
I've never seen it. And also in 83, she was in the movie All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise. In 1984, it brought us Red Dawn. And also in 84, she was in the movie The Wildlife, which co-starred Eric Stoltz, another film that they worked on together. 1985 was hugely successful with Back to the Future, where she plays Lorraine Baines, who's Michael J. Fox's mom in the film, as we all know. But sadly, in 1986, brought a couple flops in, well, it's also a cult classic, Howard the Duck, and one of my personal childhood faves, Space Camp. So flop schmop, those were great. And I have to say, we watched a lot of Howard the Duck when I was a child as well, but I don't remember any of it. So due to the bad reception of Howard the Duck we talked about before, Thompson accepted a second offer for Some Kind of Wonderful. Apparently she had been offered before but turned it down. But once the reviews came out, she was like, yes, I'm going to take this job. She was 26 at the time of the filming, and I think so was Eric Stoltz. Thompson worked steadily through the 80s and 90s, most notably the Back to the Future sequels. And in the early 90s, Lea and Howard Deutsch started a family. Madeline was born in 91 and Zoe was born in 94. And I mention that specifically because it's around that time that her film work kind of dried up. And she talks about how that was a kind of a tough period. Like she just didn't feel like the studio was giving her work. But it started her TV career. And in 1994 through 1999, she starred in the TV show Caroline in the City. She also worked as a producer on the show. 2002 to 2003 brought another TV show called For the People. And this is what I thought was fascinating. So between 2005 and 2008, there was these several hour-and-a-half episodes or like chapters of this TV show called Jane Doe. It's some kind of a procedural where she plays a central security agent. And if I were streaming somewhere, it would be right up my alley. So I just thought those looked like a lot of fun. So Lea worked again steadily through the 2010s. In 2011 through 2017, she was on the TV show Switched at Birth. In 2017 brings Lea's movie directorial debut with the film The Year of Spectacular Men, written by her daughter Madeline Deutsch, who also stars and scored the film, and her other daughter, Zoe Deutsch. And it was produced by her husband Howard Deutsch, so that's so exciting, a whole family production. Other directing credits included for TV, some of those Jane Doe shows in 2006 and 2008, several episodes from Switched at Birth, the TV show Mom, Young Sheldon, and Yes Friends Star Trek Picard in 2022. And she did a guest spot on the show. She also directed episodes for The Goldbergs and Stargirl. Thompson also did some movies in the 2010s, including the 2018 Netflix teen rom-com Sarah Burgess is a Loser and the Hulu movie Unplugging. And in 2018, she did a modernized production of Little Women, in which she played Marmee. Most recently, Thompson has starred in the 2023 TV show The Spencer Sisters and directed an episode of Will Trent. Coming up, Lea Thompson has an acting appearance in the movie You Are Here.
So I'm going to talk about our other female lead, Mary Stuart Masterson, who plays Watts. So she was born in 1966, and her parents already worked in films and on stage. Her dad was Peter Masterson, an actor, director, producer, and writer, and her mother was actress and singer Carlin Glynn. So I had no idea she came from like a famous family already. Masterson was raised in Manhattan, and she attended private schools. And she said this background made it particularly challenging to imagine the life of an ordinary high school kid. So Masterson's first movie role was at 8 in The Stepford Wives. Her father was one of the main actors, and she played his movie daughter. And rather than continuing to act professionally as a child, Masterson concentrated on school, but also studied theater and appeared in school productions. Her first role as an adult was Heaven Help Us in 1985, and she broke out critically with her role in At Close Range in 1986. And she was already connected to the John Hughes universe before starring in Some Kind of Wonderful. Her mom played Molly Ringwald's mom in 16 Candles.
Blown away. Had no idea.
I had no idea about that, and that makes it even more amazing.
Well, I'm glad we're going to rewatch 16 Candles soon, and I can't wait to be like, oh, look, there's Mary Stuart Masterson's mom. In the 80s, Masterson also acted with her parents again in the Francis Ford Coppola movie Gardens of Stone. And then she also appeared with Sybil Shepherd and Robert Downey Jr. in the reincarnation-themed romantic comedy Chances Are, which is a wild plot. Oh my gosh, I just watched that recently for the first time. And Masterson appeared in several more well-known movies in the 90s, including Fried Green Tomatoes, Benny and June, Bad Girls, and Bed of Roses. In the 2000s, she continued to work in films, but shifted much of her work to TV and theater. In 2001, she produced and acted in a short-lived TV series called Kate Brasher. In 2001, she also made her directorial debut with a segment in a TV movie called On the Edge. In 2003, she was nominated for a Tony for her performance in 9, the musical. And this I found really interesting. In 2007, she produced and directed her first feature, The Cake Eaters, which starred a then relatively unknown Kristen Stewart. This was like a year before Twilight, this movie.
Yeah, I saw it. I watched it. It was good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. A really interesting story and like a bit of a coming of age. Kristen Stewart is amazing in it. And I totally watched it because, Mary Stewart directed it.
Nice. I'll have to check it out. So in the 2000s, Masterson also appeared on TV shows including Law and Order SVU and Waterfront, and in several indie movies. And in the 2010s, she continued to work in TV, including on the shows Mercy, NCIS, and Blind Spot. She also appeared in the movies As You Are, Skin, and Daniel Isn't Real. Recently, she's appeared in the movies Isle of Hope and Sid is Dead, and she has 2 films in post-production right now, The Senior, and then this one I've heard of, and I don't even know why I've heard of it, a horror film called Five Nights at Freddy's. I have no idea why I've heard of it, but I've heard of it, and I looked at it, like the little like blurb for it, and I was like, oh, I got to see this. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because maybe I've brought it up because my daughter is obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's and has like little plushy Five Nights at Freddy's characters. And it's this horror animatronic video game thing that she's never even played, but she knows that this film is coming out. And I'm like, you're not going to see it, child. I'm sorry. So there you go. And now I want to see it because she's involved. So
you can be like, suck it, kid. I watched it and you can't. No, that's terrible.
It is terrible. I would never tell her that I saw it.
Sorry.
So other important cast and crew are Craig Sheffer as Amanda's asshole boyfriend, Hardy Jens, Elios Koteas as Duncan, head of the detention kids, John Ashton as Keith's father, Maddie Corman as Keith's younger sister, Laura, Candace Cameron Burr making her film debut as Keith's youngest sister, Cindy, Jane Elliott plays Keith's mother, Molly Hagan as Amanda's fickle friend, Shane, and Scott Coffey as Ray. He's the guy that Watts enlists to try to make Keith jealous.
Yep. And he also plays Chip in Shag. Did you notice that?
I know. Yes, of course I did. I've known that for ages.
Okay.
Chip to me. Yes.
So let's get into our movie. So first we open with this, what I think is one of the best opening montages in a film. What do you guys think about this opening montage? Do you agree?
Yeah, pretty great. Mm-hmm.
Like, we're alternating in this between Watts drumming, Keith is working in his gas station / auto shop, and then walking home. And then we see Amanda like sort of getting ready to have sex with her boyfriend, Hardy. We don't see them have sex, but it's pretty obvious that's what's going on. Mm-hmm. And we're just like alternating among these three characters, and it's along to this song called Abuse by the band Propaganda, which is this really propulsive, percussive song. Really works well.
A lot of the music, I noticed, if you notice in the John Hughes movies, it just really fits well with a lot of the scenes and the atmosphere of the films. I think the music in this movie especially.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, apparently this is skipping ahead a little bit, but it's okay. Like, apparently Hughes like actually had the soundtrack to this movie in his mind and like in place before even the script was finalized. And like Mary Stuart Masterson said something like, Hughes had the tone right there in the soundtrack before they had it right in the script. So she said eventually the script came along. This is not an exact quote, but she said eventually the script came along to be like the soundtrack and the tone that he had imagined in the first place, which I find interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so what interesting thing about this montage, so I taught a course in Korea when I was teaching over there, and the students had to like write about a character in a film, right? And like to teach them how to kind of read film, because that's a skill in itself, I would show them this opening montage and I would have them write down as much information as they could figure out about the character of Keith based on what they could see first before we even did anything with dialogue. And so I'd have them notice things like, where he works. It shows where he works. It shows his kind of like social class level. It shows like his dirty hands, and it shows him walking towards the train, right? Mm-hmm. And then only walking away from the train at the last moment. And it shows him looking at Amanda, watching her as as Hardy Jens is leaving her house in the sports car. There's so much information you can glean just from this opening. And I thought it was such a masterclass, and that's why I used it to teach students. So, yeah.
That's very cool.
Very cool, Jen.
Yeah, and the Korean students were very interested in it too. The one thing they couldn't really pick up very well, though, was his they could pick up his social class because he worked, right? But they couldn't pick it up from his house because in Korea, everyone's very densely packed together. And if you have a house, you're already doing pretty well, okay? So they're like, well, he seems kind of rich. And I'm like, well...
Interesting.
So it's all relative. Yeah.
Yeah.
So any more you guys want to say about the opening here?
I mean, I love that Watts' drum set, one of the drums has a heart on it, and she's banging on that heart, and it's like, yep.
It's embarrassing. I did not notice the symbol of the heart on her drum until this viewing for the podcast. Okay.
Oh.
Like, I'm sure it must have been there subliminally, but like, I really didn't notice it. Like, it's like, oh wow, look at this is like so symbolic of her character, and it's bright red and it matches her red gloves, and like, yeah.
Yeah, and I just did pick up on the wrong side of the tracks things until this podcast. That's interesting how they did that.
Yeah, they're evoking that phrase, the wrong side of the tracks, because he's literally on train tracks. Yeah, I love it. It's like
Yeah.
there's so many almost subliminal pieces to this opening. It's really masterfully done, I think. I don't know if it was in the script or if it was in the directing or editing, but it's great. Oh, and I should mention too. So, in terms of the drumming, Mary Stuart Masterson learned to play the drums for the role. She trained 5 hours a day with professional drummer Billy Moore, who had worked with musicians such as Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder. So, like, that sounds kind of awesome, actually. She got free drum lessons, basically. Well, she got paid to have drum lessons.
Right. Fun.
Do either of you ever played the drums or anything? Or
No. No.
Actually, I have a funny story about that. I actually have. I used to take drumming lessons, piano, guitar lessons a long time ago. But the real quick funny story, when I was used to have drumming lessons, there was someone that I liked, and she liked drummers. So her locker was next to mine in high school. So I put my drumsticks, positioned them so when I opened it, they'd fall out and we'd start a conversation. So when I opened
oh,
my locker up, what ended up happening was she's like, "Oh, you dropped your drumsticks," and she walked away.
Oh,
That was it.
oh, that is adorable, though. That, oh my god.
that is adorable. And just like in a rom com, she would have talked to you. Damn it. Damn it, real life.
Dude, that is like the beginning of a rom-com. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and so after this little opening montage, we get to know Keith's family. I also showed this part to my Korean university students so they could help learn to pick up dialogue. But I don't know if it's particularly great for that, but I think this is one of the most realistic families I have ever seen portrayed in a movie. What do you say to that?
I would agree as well. Especially, I was thinking about that too, rewatching it and having dinner together, breakfast together. Just really sound like the conversations that were coming up and the interactions between Keith and his sister. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like there's this like constant like low level squabbling and everybody talking about their own thing, but like also they get along. It's like so cute to me. It like really reminds me of my family dinners.
Hmm. My family really didn't sit down for dinner or anything, but just like oh yeah, the sibling cutting
Yeah.
into each other and even being physical. Like there are times that Keith like grabs his sister and she's like cowering, and I'm like, we totally fought physically. So that rang true. And the
Yeah,
set too, like their whole house and
oh yeah, the production design is perfect. Like it looks so
Mhm.
lived in and there's pictures that are kind of hanging it weird like, maybe not in the ideal place that like you would put them if you were a designer, right?
Right.
It's and the couch that everybody had in the 80s, the whole thing is just gorgeous. Yeah. So like some issues that are we know about in the family right away. The dad wants Keith to be first in the family to go to college. Like he's really obsessed with Keith going to college, and he keeps looking at these brochures that have come in for colleges and going co-ed phys ed, like it's like that would be his dream or something.
That's funny. Like, don't they have that in high school already? Like, why would you go to college for gym?
I
Like
know.
that one damn credit you had to get. What a pain in the ass. And then he's like, "Whoa, look, you can go to college for this." Like, okay, pretty cute.
Yeah, we see that Keith is avoiding this college conversation altogether, or trying to. We also established that he and his sister Laura squabble a lot. Like she's always going in his room and invading his space, and that is part of the dinner conversation. They have that. They seem to be about like 2 years apart, maybe. So in the dinner conversation, we also find out that Keith is the weirdest guy in school, according to his sister. So that gives you a little bit of information about his position. And I love the Candace Cameron Bure character in this. Candace Cameron, of course, who would be in Full House later. She's like
Mhm.
this little precocious kid, and she's always talking about like kind of sciency things, and she's very picky. I love this line. I don't think I've had a balanced meal here. I think I'm missing one of the important food groups. And the mom is just like, oh my God.
She really is utterly adorable, and every line that they give her, she's so cute. Yeah.
Yeah, I really got a kick out of this precocious child character in this show. Any more? It's just about the family life before we move on to school.
Just interested, like as you mentioned before, the family dynamic just felt realistic, and I'm just thinking about the where they lived and everything, and where these production design, as you mentioned too. I think that's awesome. In a lot of the different John Hughes movies, they really feel like homes when you walk into it, where it's Ferris Bueller, The Day Off, 16 Candles in this movie. It really feels, and even Weird Science. It really feels like a home, like somebody actually lived there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's almost like in the age of streaming, it's somewhat becoming a lost art because I'll watch like streaming videos about teenagers or movies about teenagers, and a lot of times they're either super rich looking houses or they're just designed to look so cute that like they don't feel like real houses anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It makes me a little sad.
Yeah.
I like these really lived in houses they have. So, okay, so let's move on to school. This is a high school series. We're going to school now. Keith and Watts show up to school in Watts's like total beater car. I cannot even tell what kind of car that is, but it's several different paint colors. It is wild.
I think Howard Deutsch said it was a Mini Cooper or somewhere in the commentary, and yeah, super beat up, like barely
Like
running.
so the car aside, I want to take a moment to appreciate Watts's fashion in this movie. I am obsessed with it. There was also a girl at my college who dressed up as her for Halloween one year, and I was like always thinking, "Oh, maybe someday I'll do that." But it would require commitment. You'd have to like cut your hair or I guess get a wig. But so she's got this short blonde hair, but it's also kind of two-toned. Like it's a little bit of like a dark brown too on the bottom. In the opening scene, she's got like a white tank top, black jacket, a black cap. She wears dog tags, ripped jean shorts, white socks, and these kind of like black loafers. She's got the sunglasses hanging on her on her tank top. She has double pierced ears, which was not common back then yet. And she has these signature red fringed fingerless gloves, which I would love a pair of those. If I ever found those, I would buy them. And then she carries her drumsticks like everywhere. And like I'm just obsessed. She's like a fashion icon for me. What do you guys think about Watts's look?
Definitely iconic. I love Watts's look. Watts's look is something that like I would love to see come out now even more so. And people, if they more people of a younger generation saw the film, they would definitely be drawn to Watts.
Well, I'll just say about the whole costuming altogether. Like, yes, Watts's ensemble is amazing. In the commentary, Lea Thompson talks about the costume designer put her in shorts and cowboy boots, and that's something that people do now. Like, it came that look came back, and it was very cool. I even think like Keith looks a little pre-grunge to me sometimes. Like
Hmm.
he's always got like an open flannel shirt, and I'm like, ooh, you're getting there. That's anyhow. But I think all of their costuming is fantastic, and yeah, Watts is really rocking.
We find out a little bit about their families. Watts tells Keith that his old man nagging him about college is better than, quote, no old man not nagging you about nothing. So we know that like Watts's dad is absent in some way. We don't really know why. The dog tags always made me think, well, maybe he's dead, but I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, it sounds like she just lives with brothers. Like there's no mom either.
Yeah, I never really tried to put it all together. It's interesting because she's like my favorite character, but she's very mysterious in a lot of ways.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you get bits and pieces of her background, so you can kind of make something of it. But there's also not much about her future. So anyway, we can talk about like what
Yeah.
happens to them later.
Yeah. Well, at the end, yeah.
Yeah.
So Elias Koteas' character, Duncan, now blocks Keith and Watts' path. And Duncan asks Watts, how long have you been a lesbian? And yeah. I
Yeah.
This character ends up becoming quite charming as the movie goes on, but he's quite a lot of the other high school students in movies of the time, quite homophobic at this point. He may not even believe she's a lesbian, but like it's being used as an insult, as it often was. And he then comments on Watts's chest, at which point Keith starts shoving Duncan, and they get into a scuffle, and Duncan is sent to detention after the teacher finds cigarettes, liquor, and pornographic playing cards on him.
Well, keep standing up for Watts. I really like that a lot. So it just something great about some typical movies would have been just like, oh, they were the, let's say, quote unquote losers of the whole school and everything, which wasn't the case at all. His sister described him as someone being weird, but he was just someone that would fit in. Like Keith and Watts were just like us, like everyday people that were kind of their own individuals, which was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I would also say that about Keith, that like he isn't afraid to stand up to people. Like we get a glimpse of that already.
So now at the school, we see Keith on his own in the library. He is watching Amanda and drawing her while Hardy and Amanda are talking. And then Hardy and Amanda notice Keith watching her. So that's going to be important. Then there's a scene in the hallway where Watts tells Keith that his father's in school. We see a scene with his father talking to the guidance counselor about business schools, but the guidance counselor says Keith wants to go to art school. Dad doesn't care. So we get sort of a preview of that conflict. And then this is like such a funny scene to me. I don't even know why. It's totally unrealistic, but the dad goes and knocks on like the window of the door of his daughter's classroom, Laura's classroom, and when she sees him, she like lets out this like blood curdling scream, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe my dad's here embarrassing me."
Yeah. And it freaks him out. He's like, "Oh, okay," and he like scurries away. And then she goes, "Can I go to the nurse?" It's adorable.
I totally love this scene. This is definitely a leftover of the wacky comedy, but I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
There's now a scene where Keith overhears Hardy planning to cheat on Amanda with this like young blonde girl who he's treating almost like she's much younger. He's kind of like, it's kind of creepy vibes there even.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's China Phillips in one of her very first acting roles, who later on, do you know who that is, China Phillips?
The name is familiar, but I don't know why.
Yeah, she's well, the daughter of one of the mamas and papas Phillips, and she went on to do then oh god, their album is on all the time.
Wilson Phillips?
Wilson Phillips. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's her. And yeah, he's talking to this girl like, you got to be close, but not too close. I'll tell you in the back of like totally controlling and yucko. But this girl is like going for it. And she's like, "Oh, Hardy, he's talking to me. I'll do anything he wants." Barf.
Yeah. I don't get it. I do not see the appeal of Hardy Jens. I will just say that right now. Like, I look at him and I look at Keith and I'm like, Keith, obviously.
Right. Same.
I mean, he is a jerk too. So we know he's a jerk. So that's prejudicing our opinions as well, but still. Okay, so Amanda comes up to Hardy and sort of sees this situation, but Hardy totally gaslights her. And it's like, you don't trust me? Trust is the basis of any relationship, and like this whole thing. Keith is watching this whole interaction. Amanda sees Keith watching, and he gives her this kind of salute. He is watching her a lot in this movie, by the way. There's a lot of people watching people in general. I don't know how this guy has time in his class schedule to be watching Amanda all the time.
I was thinking that too. That scene when Artie drops off Amanda, and then Keith is there, and he sees Amanda coming to like their physical gym class late. I was just thinking that too. I was like, why is Keith there right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's never felt this way, but I did have a moment of like, we could change this as some kind of like sleazy stalker movie. Like,
yes.
Two more lines, some music cues, and we've got like a horror film here, and he's like stalking her. Gross. But I don't really actually feel that. So
yeah, that's the alternate movie, the alternate dimension. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've got a little question I want to ask you really quick, Neil. So Sophia and I talked a little bit about our high school lives in the Can't Hardly Wait episode, and also on a lot of our older episodes about teen movies. I kind of want to know just like kind of a basic thing, like what was high school like for you? Like, do you relate to any of these characters, types, or lives in particular? Like, and like what kind of social group were you in? If you feel like sharing, if you don't feel like if you want to keep it all in the past, we understand too.
Absolutely. I think it was interesting because I've watched a lot of movies before I went to high school. So my perception of high school was more on lines of what I saw in Some Kind of Wonderful and a lot of the John Hughes movies and all the other 80s movies, but it was a little bit different. So when I went to high school for me was something where it was a step to move forward to college, which I really wanted to get older faster. And it kind of like understood the themes of the sense of belonging and wondering like who you are and who you want to be in the future when you were at that age. So a lot of the characters I liked a lot, like I was mentioning with Watts and Keith, some of my favorite characters ever. I love Iona from Pretty in Pink as well. And thinking about that, there's other people our outside school, I was more friendly with than inside school. So school was interesting. It was more of a little bit of a floater, let's say, someone that wasn't popular, but a little bit infamous because of just I was ridiculous, but also just was trying to be friendly with everybody and sit with different people at the different lunch tables. But it was an interesting experience that towards the end I appreciated a lot more than while I was there. I wanted to get out, but then when by senior year towards the end, I was like, wait a minute, I actually really this time period we'll never get back ever again, and it's not a movie, but it's something to cherish.
I'm curious. What do you mean by ridiculous? Just like an example. I want to.
So ridiculous as in so I did it wasn't really it was kind of a prank. So we had it just it's a funny story, but I'll make it a little more bridge, a little shorter here. But the school had a groundhog issue, and they were putting unfortunately they were trying to trap the groundhogs so they could release them somewhere else. But I thought I was like, hey, we can't do this. Like, well, let's change this. So my best friend and I, we thought of an idea to save. It was supposed to be save the groundhogs, and he left it to me to do it. I screwed the whole thing up. I put save the gophers, and it was a picture of a squirrel. And I made a bunch of flyers and passed it all around school, and it made our top 10 list for the senior class. So it made Save the Gophers made the top 10 because it was so ridiculous.
That is awesome.
What happened to the groundhogs? Were they all trapped and like moved and so forth?
Yeah, they were able to find them and release them more into the wild, but the school really laughed at it because I looked pretty like an idiot. But it's like this is good. These aren't really gophers, and that's a squirrel on this flyer. Like, what's wrong with you?
That's awesome. Well, we should definitely save the gophers and the squirrels as well. They are also worthy animals. Yes.
Absolutely.
So, question for the group too, for all of us. So, class is like a huge component in this story, like right away, right? So, like Keith, Watson, Amanda are all kind of like in the same social class, like I don't know, like lower middle class or lower class maybe. And Hardy is then pulling Amanda up to like the rich kids strata by dating her, and like the rich kids are the popular kids too. Was class kind of a concern for either of you growing up? I know it was like a slight concern for me. How about yourselves?
I would say it in a sense of what you wore. I think it would be more of like, hey, these people or this group wears Abercrombie, and the other group wears Hollister. Kind of tiered it that way. Some people like I liked Hot Topic and Zoomies a lot back in the day, so it kind of meant more of like how you dress was kind of what group you kind of fit in. But I understand with class that would kind of be the class kind of system, let's say.
Yeah, like we definitely had that in the 80s too. I remember the girls who had the Guess jeans. Those were the cool girls, right? And I was wearing like hand-me-downs from my aunts and uncles, which to be honest, I had some pretty awesome hand-me-downs, but at the time sometimes you thought, well, I wish I could get like that new pair of jeans at the store, or like that new t-shirt that I really want, or whatever it might have been. Or like I wish I had like four pairs of leg warmers instead of just this one pair that I got from my aunt, right?
Right.
Yeah, I feel like also like it was like the class differences in Lake Geneva, or at least like the ones that determined popularity, were kind of really minor. But like they existed. Like there were people who lived up on this hill that were like supposedly like the rich kids, and a lot of those were the popular kids. And I lived in a supposedly a quote unquote bad neighborhood, which come on, it was not a yeah, no, she laughs. She laughs because it was like a beautiful tree-lined street with two-story houses, but we also had like members of like the immigrant community like moved into our neighborhood. So that was like the quote unquote bad neighborhood, because of course like, the classism and racism like will often go hand in hand, right? Like it's so weird. Like even in a community where people are living in almost in very similar social stratas, people seem to like to divide themselves by these really arbitrary distinctions almost. But I do remember growing up and my parents arguing about money. I do remember it being a concern, like a worry. So I think it like definitely like I identified with in all these 80s movies, I would always identify with the underdogs, with the lower class people. Even though we did eat, sometimes we had to eat like the same crappy food all the time, but we always had food. So I can never say that we like were poor, but like, you'd see people going on fabulous vacations every year or getting like the best clothes, and then treating you kind of poorly sometimes because of it. And it did have an effect, I think.
Yeah. We were definitely just middle class. There were definitely things about money. No, I mean, I never got everything I wanted. Shopping would be like at the mall, like at the Gap. That was what I liked, but it would be like, mom had saved up a bunch of money for it. It wasn't just like every weekend. And I would have babysitting jobs and I had some cash of my own and that was fun. But there was something about that. See, to me, Jen, you lived in town. So everybody who lived in town was like doing good to me. I lived out in the country. I lived 10 minutes out of town. So that like nobody went out there. It was like, what do you all the way out there and like to try to give directions was like the worst chore in the world. And so to me, you getting to live in town was the real deal. That was what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, babe, we were not considered cool in our. I'm just letting you know right now.
That's
It's
just
weird. It's weird.
ridiculous to me. I think, yeah. So I didn't identify, definitely not with the super rich people, not with like super struggling like these characters, in the film. And I was definitely a floater as well, not super popular, definitely not an outcast or anything, but just kind of in the middle.
So, like, Neil, you were like at a private school. Where was it like a private school with a lot of rich kids at it, or was it like kind of just a like middle of the road kind of a private school? Like, did you experience any of these really rich people?
It was kind of subtle in a sense because my best friend, he had a when he was like 16, he was driving BMW. Then he had a Camaro. He was driving to school as well, and just kind of subtle
What?
things that you notice.
That's not
But like,
subtle. That's out loud.
yeah, absolutely. There are people with really nice cars there, really nice houses and cars. Meanwhile, I'm on the middle class. Yeah, so I was on the school bus all 4 years. So it's kind of a mix of different groups there, middle class to people that were very affluent or well off, and some the
Yeah.
squad too.
Yeah, like whether you ride the bus or drive a car or ride in somebody's car is also like one of those high school signifiers, right? Like I rode the bus until my friend Jenny got a car, and then I felt kind of cool because we could stop at McDonald's and get hash browns on the way to school.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Class is like such an important thread in a lot of 80s movies. I don't know, like I feel like it was more prominent as a feature in films in the 80s than it is today. So we now have a scene where Keith talks to Watts about what she thinks about Amanda Jones and tells Watts that he finds her interesting. And I wanted to do a brief every rom-com theater on this one. I want to do Watts because I'm sorry, I just want to do Watts. Do either of you want to take care of Keith?
You're welcome to, if you want to, Neil.
I think yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I didn't want to jump in and take over, but yeah, sure.
No, not at all. Go ahead.
Okay. So Keith tells Watts that he thinks Amanda is interesting, and here we have some dialogue between them. It's because she's beautiful, right? Guys are so sickening. Really, it must be a drag to be a slave to the male sex drive.
I didn't say anything about sex.
Oh, you want to start a book club with her?
I didn't say that I wanted to do anything with her. I just think she's interesting.
Don't go mistaking paradise for a pair of long legs. So
Excellent,
that's our little
excellent.
excerpt.
That was great. That was great.
That book club line kills me every time. I love it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
such great lines in the movie.
All of it. All of it. You want to start a book club? Don't go mistaking paradise for long like awesome. So good.
She's like, would you rather swallow blood than pride? Or one of the, I forgot the line she said. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, Watts gets a lot of the good lines in this film for sure. Yeah. So Watts tries to convince Keith that Amanda is shallow and materialistic and would not be interested in Keith. And like, I mean, the audience, you can tell she's jealous right away. Like, you don't need to be told. But Keith is like so oblivious. So, how about you two? Do you think there's anything interesting about the character of Amanda Jones, like aside from her appearance? Like, why do you think like that Keith particularly finds her attractive or interesting, as he says?
It's a great question. I think it's more of something that's, I wouldn't say something he strives to be a part of that group because she's also middle class as well. So I think he just was piqued his interest because he saw her with someone that's a jerk, and he thought he saw potential in her as being not as that group that she was a part of. She was something beyond that and more in lines of where he was from.
I think I was going to say something along the same lines. Like, I wonder if he thinks it's interesting that she's, from their side of town, but she's hanging with this crowd. Like, I don't know, maybe he's intrigued by what that looks like. How do you get there? I don't know. And that she's freaking pretty. That's about it.
Do you think there's like an element of wanting to rescue her from Hardy in a sense? Like, could that be a thing?
I would say so, yeah, because he's witnessed Hardy like cheating on her and stuff like that and talking down to her, you know. And we already know that he has, the way he cares for Watts and stands up for Watts. I think he's got a thing about him that he doesn't think people deserve that kind of thing and wants to stand up to people.
Yeah. So then another question is, so Keith is finding like Amanda interesting. It's already obvious that Watts has a crush on him, as we said. Like, have you ever had the experience of having a crush like on a close friend and they just like totally were oblivious to this? Like, have you ever had that in your life?
That was my whole life. I hope they were oblivious. Looking back, I'm like, my God, how did they tolerate me if they knew, So.
Oh, Sophia. When you say that was your whole life, like, okay, are you being literal here? Like, how many, like, was it a lot of different people or the same people or like?
Whatever, like, through high school, there were at least a couple friends that I was like, just pined for. In college, there were a couple friends that I just was so in love with and never said anything. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I did wind up marrying a close friend, just not the one I thought.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I never got close enough to these guys that I was friends with that I had crushes on to like be this kind of Watts Keith relationship, right? Like, I probably would have been happy just to have that, like to have their kind of like being together and just like hanging out. Like, I did have a friend like in high school that I was really into. I eventually asked him to prom and got rejected, but
Mhm.
but like I tried, so that's good. But like, yeah, I've never had a close guy friend where I didn't either tell him or where we were that close, right? I dated a friend after high school who we started as friends. Yeah. How about you, Neil? Did you ever have the pining situation, or maybe you were pined for? Who can say?
Oh.
Yes, I can admit to that. There's a situation that comes to mind. There's someone who I was friends with in college who I actually had feelings for her at first, but then we became friends, and then it wasn't until much later on. It just we were dating different people on it like at different times, so the timeline never worked out for something to be beyond that. And then one time when we were together for my birthday, she admitted to having a crush on me during a certain point. I was like, she's like, I had no clue. I had no idea. It was kind of like with Watts and Keith. I just had no clue. I was oblivious about it.
I wonder, like, guys have told me sometimes that guys have a harder time picking up on cues than girls do. And I wonder if it is
Oh yeah,
true.
I think it is true. Just like
That's
it's
funny.
absolutely true. I had no clue. I couldn't pick up on any of the clues from that at all. But it's interesting how that all works out together.
Okay, this is how I'm going to just tell this part of the story of me and my husband. I told our mutual friend I have feelings for him. She told him. I wanted that to happen. I didn't tell her that, but that's what I wanted. He knew. And yet, when we were hanging out, etc., and nothing was said yet, he still read like my nervousness because I was like nervous to be around him. I'm like, oh my gosh, got my mind has changed about him and whatever. He still read it as that I didn't want to hang out with him. And he
Oh,
still didn't believe that I was interested until like I asked him to hang out after an evening of hanging out. He's like, oh, maybe now. And I'm like, you knew. She told you. And he still was like, yeah, but I just took that away. And I'm like, my God. What? Yeah. How about that?
Yep. This is why I've had a lifetime of asking guys out. So, all right,
Nice.
so let's go on to the next section. So we have Hardy, like while Watts and Keith are having this conversation about Amanda, Hardy pulls up with Amanda to get his gas tank filled and probably also just to harass Keith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Keith's doing this, Keith's working on the car. And in the meantime, Hardy says, so you like looking at my girlfriend, huh? And Amanda apologizes for him. And then he says, I'd recommend you keep your eyes and your mind off my property.
Ooh.
So, what do you guys think? Is Hardy like the worst like asshole in all rom-com history? What do you think? Or all 80s movies history or teen movie history?
That's a tough one. I mean, James Spader
Yeah.
has some great performances with that.
Oh, good call. Oh, geez.
I would 100% rather deal with Steph from Pretty in Pink I would 100% rather deal with Spader's Steph than this fucking Hardy guy. Like even like when like he gives the money to Keith to pay for the gas, he drops it on the ground for God's sakes. I'm like, oh.
I don't know. Steph is pretty gross too. Ooh, well, they're both Hughes characters. He did not like wealthy people. He did. He really felt the classism in life, and he talked about that in an interview. So, man,
I always think of a lot of these movies as if they all went to I know they're in different settings, but they all went to the same high school. What if? And they would
oh yeah,
you definitely see Hardy being in the same circle with Steph. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yes.
I kind of ship now. I kind of thought to myself, Steph and Shane, like Amanda's friend in this movie, they'd be a good couple.
Oh, oh, yeah, they
Maybe
would.
not, though. I don't know. The girl he's with in Pretty in Pink is like a lot different. So who knows? But I don't know. I could see it. Anyway.
Do
Or
you think he's the worst? Oh, sorry.
maybe Shane's Steph's sister, actually. They kind of look sort of similar. So yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Now we're going really off.
We are
off
going off.
topic. So, yeah, I think for me, I think Hardy is my new top asshole of 80s teen films. I'm calling it for him.
Okay.
I'll maybe change my mind if I rewatch some of the others, but everything he did in this movie, I was just like revolted by.
Yeah. There's not one redeeming quality.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
literally kissing someone else in front of Amanda, then telling her he's not. He's comforting her. It's just the guy was
right.
just a complete jerk.
Yeah.
Huh, which begs a question about like character arc and like, characters being completely bad and like, but they, do you know what I mean? And they're,
Yeah, having
interesting.
kind of cartoon villains was kind of common in the 80s, I think, though, like both for action movies and teen movies, like having like really relatable main characters and then having some of the nemesis be like nemesis, having some of the bad guys be just kind of like totally just bad altogether.
Got it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think anyway.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
Okay, so back at school, we get this scene where Hardy drops off Amanda late to gym that we referred to before, and Keith is watching her again. Amanda gets a detention from her woman gym teacher. Like way back in our episode on the half of it, I talked about good teachers in movies and bad teachers in the movies. I love this gym teacher. She is like firm and serious, but she cares about her students. And she's like, nope, you're getting a detention. This is nonsense.
Although she's a little like calling Amanda slutty. She's like, because do you think she's
I
like?
don't think so. I think she's just calling her on her lie that like she was just talking. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't say you're a slut, but she's like, if you just wanted to talk, you would have stayed at school, which is probably true. Don't you think?
Got it. Okay. Yeah. All right.
And in her mind, she could be like trying to prevent teen pregnancy or something. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I like that. That actress too. She's in a lot of stuff. Like I looked her up. I forgot her name, but I'm like, oh my God, she's everywhere. Just a character actor.
I just like she regulates. She regulates her class. She's like, she's there.
Yeah.
And then Keith pulls the fire alarm back inside so he can get a detention too. Oh, Keith. You're so naive.
I really, okay, but that's a 2-second scene. He pulls the alarm and he's just standing there. And then a teacher comes bursting out of a door like, what's up? And he turns around, no dialogue. He just sees what happened. And then he just like, you see him go like, son of a bitch, like internally, like, you damn kids. And he points him into the classroom. And I'm like, yeah, I feel you, teacher. That's these damn kids.
So this detention scene is like one of my favorite scenes now. I didn't really notice it as much like when I was watching. I would always think about just the romance, but I fucking love this scene now. So, you can swear, by the way, Neil, if you want.
I don't know if you noticed.
So Keith is all dressed up for detention. He's ready to see Amanda. But instead we get this like hilarious little like mini montage of like Elias Koteas as Duncan and his gang of like tough detention guys just like doing all this stuff to demonstrate like their dominance of the detention room. So this one guy tears a book apart. The other guy just like who looks like a metal band dude just like flares his nostril really like dramatically. like you said, Sophia, Duncan is scratching under his nose with a knife. And then this guy, this must have been a joke, right? Like they just have this guy and he breaks a pencil dramatically.
I don't think it's a pencil. I think it's a plastic pen, which is a little harder.
I'm going to go look at my evidence. Even a pen, that's not that, that is not that impressive.
You're
I could
right,
break
it's
a
not that.
pen. This is like a whole thing though. I just found this scene so funny.
And there's ominous music playing too, like, yeah.
Am I the only one who's in love with breaking a pencil guy?
You must be.
Yes, I think actually one of them Shane was in love with towards the end, but I guess we'll talk about that
Oh,
later.
yeah.
Okay, I just looked at the pencil. It's totally a pencil. That's all I'm gonna
Okay.
say.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right. My bad.
I feel like the pencil guy was there for comedic effect. I really do. Agree, disagree.
Agree.
Agreed. But as a teacher, it must hurt to see a pencil get broken just like that.
I don't know, because later in this detention room though, like Duncan's like carving up a whole ass desk. Like, where is this dude?
Yeah, where is the detention teacher watching out for all of it? Funny.
This is like the wildest detention hall. I just like, oh yeah, and then Keith goes, "Is this detention?" And then Duncan says, "Actually, it's your mother's house, and we're all having a party." My husband said this is like a scene like you'd see in a military movie where like people are hazing like the new recruit, or a prison movie or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That's hilarious. Yes, very much so.
So meanwhile, Amanda's gotten out of detention by flirting with the teacher, the detention teacher. Can't stand this guy. Gross. Like,
Naughty,
you shouldn't be breaking the rules for a student if she flirts with you. And also, he clearly isn't even in the detention room, or he's letting people carve up desks. So no. And then as the movie progresses, we see Keith getting friendly with Duncan and the detention guys, which is going to be important later on. They get friendly because they're both doing art. Like Duncan's carving the desk and making art, and then Keith is drawing. And he pulls up, it's a great scene where he pulls up the whole desktop to show Keith his drawing.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
I feel like I'm the only one who finds this is funny. Neil's like, yeah, I don't know.
It makes me miss those like kind of desks from back in the day.
Yeah. So either of you, did you ever have detention? I had detention once. Like, and I think I thought it was going to be more like this movie, and it was a total letdown. Did either of you ever get a detention? Did you have any ideas about what it would be like based on John Hughes movies?
Yeah, I thought we'd all be in a library on a Saturday, but no, with the detention, it was kind of like, I had the same experience of thinking it was going to be a lot of fun, but it was completely different.
Yeah, I remember like we were just in a room and like they were just like, now be quiet and focus on your homework, because they wanted us to do homework. So we just did homework and everyone was quiet. There was nobody like super colorful or interesting. It was just like boring people. And I was like, well, I don't feel bad.
Okay, what did you do? How old were you?
I was middle school. I was late for school or something. Yeah.
Oh, lame.
Yeah.
What
I don't know.
about you, Neil? What did you do?
Well, we can't speak of it, but it was
Okay.
just interesting times.
It was not related to gophers in any way, or
No,
yeah.
it was not freeing gophers. It was not.
Okay. Yeah, I got detention once. It was in some computer class, and the teacher couldn't tell. I couldn't get a read on him. Like, he was like kind of dry funny and seemed to be okay, but then I was doing something and I said fuck underneath my breath and he heard me, so he made me like eat lunch there. That was my detention.
Weird. Yeah. It's just so weird to me that you could get detentions for saying swear words. Like, that's so odd. I can't remember a time. I can't remember that time anymore. Yeah. Anyway, this myth of detention was really like made big by these teen movies, and then it just really didn't live up to it. Yeah. I love these detention guys. I love them so much. I kind of want their side movie. I want a sequel, actually. I'll talk about that when we get to the end of the movie. Well, I don't want it now. It can't happen anymore, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, we get another scene with Watts and Keith. There's a couple of these, like where Watts and Keith are just going over the Amanda situation. Okay, so here's another little dialogue between Watts and Keith. Amanda Jones doesn't know you, doesn't care about you. You're trying to jerk off the impossible.
You've been in love before.
There's a lot of things you don't know about me.
Really? Who have you ever been in love with?
those are like two different sets of dialogue between Watts and Keith. Like, first of all, she's telling him like, you're not going to be able to get Amanda. And then he's saying, you don't know how I feel. And then they're talking, and then they're broaching the topic of whether Watts has ever been in love. And she kind of blows that off. Then she's like, yeah, she doesn't, she won't answer like who she's been in love with. It's like, at this point, I'm just like, Keith, knock, knock, like, anybody home?
Yeah.
There are certain scenes where just like, how does he not know this by now?
So now we have a scene, there's people watching people all the time in this movie. We now have a scene of Watts watching Amanda in the locker room. She's like trying to like compare herself to Amanda. Watts is dressed in a t-shirt and boxers, and another student says she looks like a boy. Again, I can relate to that so much. She looks at Amanda, who's posed with one leg on a bench. She's wearing this like tiny camisole and these skimpy briefs, and she's shaking out her like beautiful long full hair. And then you see Watts looking at herself and like comparing herself negatively. It kind of just breaks my heart a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Just like not thinking you're enough. And like, I don't know. I bet though, like if you were to talk to Amanda, she'd be like, oh, something's wrong with me too. Like everybody, unfortunately.
But I do remember things like wishing like, oh, I wish I had like bigger breasts or something, or like more like in 16 Candles, where you see Molly Ringwald looking at that blonde woman played by Haviland Morris. Yeah. We now get a really pivotal scene in the movie where Keith actually asks Amanda out on a date. So this comes about because Amanda has caught Hardy again with that young blonde girl, and she breaks up with him. Hardy says, you walk out on me, where are you going to go? And Keith is coincidentally calling her over at this moment. She goes right over to Keith, and Keith asks Amanda out, and she says yes. And oh my God, when you look at the Stoltz's body language in this scene, his portrayal of nervousness asking her out is so good.
Yeah.
Did you see all his like little micro expressions and how he just slightly stutters and like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it's not over the top is it, you know, it's just subtle enough. And and I think I'm gonna call out like Lea Thompson here and her acting here and her facial expressions. Like, you know, she gives Hardy like a really good like stink eye, like, yeah, I'm gonna go to that guy. And then but I just don't like the way she treats Keith in this scene, but because she's like, oh, you're asking me out, and kind of like, okay, but somehow recovers and, you know, is nice enough to say yes or whatever. But yeah, Stoltz is gold here.
Yeah, like it made me remember early experiences of asking people out before I was brave enough. It really made me remember that the pounding heart and like the adrenaline.
It's totally relatable from things I've experienced back in the past as well.
And it's not just like he sees her alone in the hall. Like he's calling her across a busy street where all the kids are hanging out and cruising or whatever. Like pressure, man. Like it plays for the scene, but then I wonder what was he thinking? Like that was his choice to ask her out there. Yeah.
It is interesting. Yeah, I'm going to make you cross the street for me. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Amanda tells her friend Shane and Hardy that she has said yes to Keith. And then all while this is going on, Watts is watching Keith and Amanda talk, and she looks so sad, but she looks so pretty and cool too with her awesome outfit. But yeah, it's very sad. Okay, now we're going to get to another family dinner. Keith is unusually happy, calls his dad and mom by their first names. And I love this. This is such a dad line. He says, she's mom, I'm dad, and you're nuts.
Perfect. He is perfect. I like him. John Ashton is such a great dad in this movie. Like he's the perfect 80s dad. And I loved him in Beverly Hills Cop. Like he was awesome.
Yeah, he's so funny, and he cares so much, and it's great. Mm-hmm. So I've got a little clip about now this family dinner where we're going to hear Keith's sister's perspective on the situation.
This is not true. It can't be. This has got to be like the most hilarious rumor ever floated, right?
What are you talking about?
Okay, I'm in town last night. I hear everybody talking about how Keith has asked this girl out.
No way.
Yeah, check it out. This girl is popular. She's beautiful and obviously in the middle of some emotional shootout to consent to date the human tater tot. What did you do to her, Keith? Threaten her life?
I just asked her out.
Well, her boyfriend's a man, for Christ's sake.
Hey.
Oh, he's extensively easy on the eyes. He's a total buck, and you're Keith.
Is she nice?
Mother, the girl is sex.
God's sakes, I'm eating.
Glad you got time to think about the girls. Between the girls in your Arctic, you don't have time to think about anything important. You're dead and buried before you get off your butt and apply to a college.
Ease up, Dad. Any fool could get into a college. Only a precious few may say the same about Amanda Jones. Am I wrong?
So great.
Great dialogue. I love that scene. And it reminds me of back in high school how rumors would spread. The event just played out in front of us. Now it's like she heard about it too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. I love this whole family relationship so much. So we're back at school again. I wanted to bring this up. Duncan congratulates Keith on scoring the date with Amanda. This is like, I love this character, but he's always like saying these terrible things. He says, "Punch her apron one time for me, huh?" And it's like, you know what that means. Even though I looked that expression up on Google, could not find any evidence of it existing outside of this movie. But he's being like, "Fuck her one time for me," right?
Yeah.
He also refers to like Hardy as a gwat, which I could not find any definition for that online either. It's like John Hughes was making these like slang words like and just out of whole cloth, unless either of you has heard of evidence of these before somewhere else.
I've not heard evidence, but I've heard in a lot of the commentary that he made up his own dialogue. He got a lot of license to do that and just like ad-libbed a bunch of stuff. So that might have been the actor himself. Yeah. That might have just been all him.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. That makes sense too then. It could be Canadian slang then because he's from Canada, I think. So
I don't know.
But it's like, I love this character on one level. On another level, it's kind of gross. I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, it's really treating Amanda like kind of this object and status symbol, which is something we'll come back to later.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Watts has recruited this guy named Ray to make Keith jealous by paying attention to her, and he's kind of dumb. Once again, we get this theme of people at school think she's a lesbian that Ray tells her. And then I love her line, though. She says, "Ray, this is 1987. Did you know that a girl can be whatever she wants to be?" I don't want to go too deep into this interaction, but do you have anything you guys want to say about this jealousy maneuver?
If only it had worked, but I don't think Keith was so one-track minded in terms of Amanda Jones to realize about what was going on in front of him.
Yeah. He looks vaguely confused for a second, but then he's right back on business, which he wants Watts to let him borrow her car to pick up Amanda, which I would probably not use that car to try to pick up anybody. But at any rate, he wants to borrow Watts' car, and then he can't get it to start. And after he's already offered Amanda a ride home, she gets him a ride home instead with Shane. Shane wants Amanda to break up with him in the car ride, like to say, we're not going out on the date anymore. So that's her motivation there. But it really bothers me that Keith does not like tell Watts where her car is at this point. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. He's kind of left her.
Yeah, it's very sad. So in the car ride with Shane, Keith compliments Amanda on her earrings, which are diamonds. But we find out she has borrowed them from Shane, which is also going to be significant later. And Amanda does not take a really easy opening to back out of the date, because Keith actually says, "Do you want to back out of the date?" And she says no, which I understand. I would hate to like do that to somebody.
I probably would have felt the same way in high school as well.
So now Hardy comes into the art room one morning and tells Keith that like he'd like Keith to bring Amanda to his party on their date. And Keith is suspicious, but Hardy is gaslighting Keith the same way he does to Amanda, where he's like, "Whoa, you gotta trust me. Do you have like an inferiority complex there or something, dude?" Like, oh my God, I can't stand him.
So schmarmy. So schmarmy.
It's very manipulative and it's just like so disingenuous. But Keith seems like he was aware of that.
I do like you get a moment of like Keith in his space, in his art room early in the morning painting. I like that.
Yeah. Listening to his music too and what have you.
Okay, now we have this big club scene where Keith is at a club waiting for Amanda to maybe show up. Watts calls him on it. Did she say she was coming? Like, and he's like, not in so many words. And she's like, in any words? And he's just kind of waiting there. And Watts, meanwhile, is kind of, her heart's breaking a little bit. And she has like a confrontation with him. At the same time, there's a band called the March Violets are performing the song Turn to the Sky. So this is on the soundtrack. And this is the real band performing in that scene. And yeah, now we're going to hear a little bit of Watts talking to Keith.
Do you miss me, Keith? Do you miss not being around me?
This isn't the third grade anymore.
She doesn't love you. It's a joke. It's all a joke.
How do you know?
I'd bet my hands on it.
You don't want to make that bet.
Yeah, I do. I've been thinking a lot lately about you and me. And I came to a conclusion that I didn't want to deal with. But now that we talked, I can't hide it anymore. I think we'd get along much better if we didn't spend so much time together anymore.
Why?
Because I'm driving you crazy, and you're driving me crazy. And I'd rather not see you and have you think good things about me than have you see me and hate me. Because I can't afford to have you hate me, Keith. The only things I care about in this goddamn life are me and my drums and you.
That line.
I know. I don't know how he can't like see like, or even in there if he thinks, wow, we're just really good friends and she's being really truthful with me, to not like, I don't know.
He does call after her, but yeah.
He does.
The music, everything about that scene, everything just flows so well together. I really, it's something I wonder as well. I'm like, how is Keith not picking up on this yet? Like, but they have so many great scenes together, and I like the chemistry between Mary Stuart Masterson and Eric Stoltz.
Yeah, I think this is one of the strongest ones, and I think this is the first moment in the movie where you see exactly how deep all Watts' feelings run. Like, she's like either crying or almost crying in this scene. I can't remember. We get a little scene now of Hardy trying to corner Amanda and like kind of get her back, I think. He follows her into the girls' locker room. Ugh, Hardy. And this is where I love the gym teacher so much, though, because she is not intimidated by him. And she basically shoves him out of there. Like, I love that gym teacher character so much. Okay. And Amanda reiterates that it's over and throws a ring that he gave her at him. And yeah.
But he threatens her. He's like, it's going to be a really lonely year for you. Ooh.
Yeah. Now we get a scene. Laura's trying to impress her younger friends that she's now part of the cool kids by association. They dare her to go over and join the cool kids then. And by doing this, she just kind of hangs out in the background and overhears Hardy telling his friends that they're going to beat Keith up and then go back to business as usual. And good girl, she just like runs straight home to tell her brother.
Yeah. I think again, maybe it's just Hughes or these 80 films, like you see siblings pick on each other and drive each other crazy, but also really deeply love each other and have each other's back. Like that's what's happening here. And I feel like that is so true of siblings, at least in my sibling experience.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so Laura's interpretation of what she overheard is that Amanda's in on this whole beating up plot too. So that's what she tells Keith. So now Keith is under the belief that the whole date was a joke and that like Amanda's in on it, but he's going to go through with the date anyway to stand up to Hardy. So yeah, Keith tells Watts all about this, and then they have this scene where they're lying down side by side on Watts's bed, and Keith apologizes to her and says, "You always hurt the ones you love." And then she says, "If so, when are you beating the shit out of Amanda Jones?" And he does this little nervous laugh there. Like, I swear, this is the moment for me, the first moment where I feel like maybe Keith is realizing that he has feelings for Watts. What do you guys think? Do you think he has a little tiny moment where he figures it out?
No.
No? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Probably not. It wasn't more so towards the end, but when you look at pictures of them together, you could see there's some kind of connection there.
Yeah. I mean, he goes right to her when he finds out this bad news, this is the person that he tells all this stuff to.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you always hurt the ones you love. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like, it's a phrase that, like, maybe he's noticing that he used the phrase. Anyway, that's what I think, but I don't know. I feel like there's maybe a subconscious revelation happening that he's not ready to
She's
deal with.
she's definitely. Oh, I can see that. He's not ready to deal with. She's falling to pieces though.
Oh, yeah, of
Jeepers, you
course.
feel
Yeah.
her. That's how I don't like identify with Watson like being edgy or different or whatever, but the feeling of like I'm so close to this person
Yes.
and not close enough.
The deep pining in that scene is just like, it's just like radiating off of Mary Stuart Masterson. She did such a great job. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so now, oh my God, this scene. The scene that is kind of called the kiss that kills. I think this is probably, without this scene, the movie doesn't work. And what's crazy is that, like, this scene was written later in the shoot. It wasn't there at the beginning of shooting. Hughes recognized the need for another scene and wrote it kind of on the spot. So in the lead up to the scene, Keith has taken all this money out to take Amanda on this big date to kind of impress her and like show off like to the school that he's worth something to, that he's like I don't know exactly what he's trying to prove, but he's trying to stand up to Hardy and show that he's worth something, basically. There's a scene where they're buying these earrings that he's then going to give to Amanda. And then they're back in the garage and Watts is asking him, like, well, what are you going to say to her? Like he says, well, I'd rather be natural. And she says, well, what is going to happen if she wants to kiss you because she's experienced? And this leads into like one of the best scenes ever where Watts is offering to like help him practice kissing. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this. I'm sorry all our clips are in the row this week, listeners. It's just that's what was available on YouTube. So here we go.
Great. Well, I just think maybe you should consider whether or not you feel you can deliver a kiss that kills.
What, you think I can't?
If you say you can, you probably can.
Well, no, I'm no expert.
It's cool. I was just going to work on it with you, but if you're comfortable, great.
Wait. How do you work on it?
Pretend I'm a girl, okay? I mean, pretend I'm her, Amanda. I know it's a big stretch, but try it. Come here. I didn't mean to scare you. All right. What do you do with your hands?
Well, it depends.
No, it doesn't depend. They go on her hips.
Okay.
Do it. Look into my eyes. Come on, I don't have to do this.
I know, I'm sorry.
Just grow up a little. She'll probably do this.
How do you know?
I watch a lot of TV. Close your eyes. Lesson's over. You're cool.
I have like a visceral reaction to that song. Like that song puts me into the kiss in this movie. And like, it's one thing to hear it on the podcast, everybody, but if you, for some reason, haven't seen the movie yet, right? I'll link to this scene in our show notes. Go and watch this on YouTube. Go and watch just this scene, this kiss. It is masterful. Agree? Disagree?
Oh, totes agree.
I just love the dialogue. The whole sequence from this into them getting ready with Amanda Jones is just perfect. But I love when he's like, hey, you're blushing. And she's like, the day I blush. I think just everything about that is perfect. That's my favorite kiss scene.
In any movie?
In any movie, yes.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I think, like, I was trying to think of what are the other great kisses, and I actually did a little Twitter poll on this too. And the other two that I came up with, which for me are like legendary kisses, are A Room with a View in the poppy field and Last of the Mohicans at the fort with Daniel Day-Lewis and Madeline Stowe. That is also amazing. But just like, I think this might actually be the best one. And I think it's in the little details where it's not just showing you two people's mouths, right? They show these little cuts of like, wraps one of her legs around him. You see her foot go behind his back and in a close up. And then you also see a shot of like his hands tightening on her butt. And you're like, yes, like that. You
Mm-hmm.
feel the passion escalating. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's in concert with this song, which I think it's
Yes.
about, realizing like you like somebody loved you, right? And it's a
Mm-hmm.
great poppy song and it like just works so well. Like, and the music actually gets louder too while they start kissing. Oh, what
Yeah.
would you add anything to the details of this or?
Just that it's perfect, and uh, how Howard Deutsch talks about it, that it was the cinematographer that helped him uh, put that together, and I just thought that was really great. He gives a lot of credit to the cinematographer for doing this master shot and then doing these coverages, these pieces, and bringing it together.
Yeah, the cinematographer's name is like maybe Jan or maybe Jan Kieser. It looks like, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, there's one thing I would change about that, and I think if anyone who's experienced something similar to that, it kind of takes you back to that time or a song that reminds you of it too. So it's just I always identify the song to that scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to play this song so much in college. Like I associated it with every like unrequited love situation I had because I was like, well, maybe there'll be this moment where like it'll all come together, right? And like we'll kiss and it'll just be like magic and it'll just like spark everything to life. Like that's like the kind of moment this is because Keith is like Eric Stoltz once again does these great things like little tiny micro gestures. You see him kind of working his mouth after the kiss. You know, like how you do if you've had a
Mhm.
really good kiss and you're just like still feeling it in your mouth. You see that.
Yes.
He says you're blushing and he's blushing when he says it and he's like kind of laughing. And it's like, it's so perfect. Like they portray it so well. And of course, we have Mary Stuart Masterson. Watts is the one who pushes Keith away. Like
Mhm.
he's just into this kiss, right? Like what would have happened if she hadn't pushed him away? I wonder.
I know. I think she got a little overwhelmed.
I have to say I would not have had the guts to like do this practice kissing thing with like some guy that I had a huge thing for who is my friend though. That I'm like, oh, would somebody do that? Like really? Usually, I don't know.
Feel like I tried, actually.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I was like, sure, let's try it out. And like jokingly, but like totally would have done it if they like went for it. And I was, but I think I got, it was like, oh, haha. And I feel like I did it. I would have to go look through journals.
I was brave enough to ask people out or tell people I was interested in them. Like, but I would never be brave enough to do something like that. Oh my god, I don't know. So it's interesting to me, but I love it. I love the scene. It's perfect, and I think it really like supports so much of the rest of the movie because I think at this point in the movie we're about to go into the spoiler section, so like I'm not going to tell what it is, but this is the point in the movie where things start not making much sense to me, but because this scene was there as
Oh,
scaffolding, it kind of holds the rest of the movie together for me, I guess. I don't know.
okay.
So the spoilers are going to begin now. If you have not seen Some Kind of Wonderful, please go out and find it, seek it out, and we're all three telling you that it's a great movie, so what more do you need? All right, now
Totally.
spoiler section's begun. You can talk about allude to anything that happens in the rest of the movie. Now we get this now we're about to get ready for this date. And Neil, you say you particularly like this getting ready montage?
I love it. And actually, when I was in college, I used to play this song when I like Miss Amanda Jones before I went out and was getting ready, just thinking of this scene.
No way.
Yes,
Yeah.
beer in the shower, just getting ready, just like singing along. Yeah.
Yeah, it's from the Rolling Stones again, Miss Amanda Jones, like which is not a song that I don't really listen to the Stones much, so my main exposure is probably from this movie, funny enough. Yeah, and like we get Amanda's getting ready, Keith's getting ready, Watts is getting ready, and she's putting on some lipstick, and then we also see Hardy getting ready just a little bit too. And then Keith's reverie in the shower is interrupted when his dad flushes the toilet.
Perfect.
Because yeah, which is a thing. Parents did that. And the water goes cold, and we get this scene between Dad and Keith where they finally like confront this like issue of college because his dad has found out that he took all his college money out for this extravagant date. I gotta say, watching this, even though I don't have kids now, watching this in my 40s, I'm like, oh, your dad's right, dude.
That's brilliant, Jen. It's true. Sometimes our parents were right, damn it. And yeah, being a parent, and I'm like, damn it. Like all the just like micro steps away from parents and like gaining your independence. And I'm like, oh shit, it kind of hurts. But I'm like, okay, this is what you want. Like strong, independent, functioning, kind human beings. But then they grow up and it hurts.
Like his dad's not right to force him to go to business school, right? But like I'm thinking to myself, Keith, if you want to be an artist, you definitely want to have money. Money is going to be useful to you. So I don't know why you're blowing it on this like date and these like earrings just to prove a point to some assholes you're never going to see again. Do you feel me here?
Yes, feel you. Feel you. I'll even say this again in the commentary. Like, Deutsch really had a hard time with these earrings. He's like, how's this going to play? And like, he didn't like quite feel it himself. And they were all kind of like, what about these damn earrings? So I can see that.
Yeah, I feel like this is a vestige from like I guess the original idea for this movie was something about some guy planning the perfect date for the most popular girl in school, and that was way more the focus was this like this guy who plans the most over the top date ever, and it feels
Mm,
like maybe this is something that could have been abandoned out. You know, what do you
yeah.
think, Neil? Do you like it just the way it is?
Yeah, but I totally understand that too as well. Because just like, was that the did this call for an overtop date? What was the going to be accomplished from that towards the end with everything? But it all worked out. Well, let's say spoiler alert, it all worked out in the end
Hmm.
the right way, which I thought. But yeah, I do agree. But especially the earrings it made me think of being that age and spending money on something that I really thought not didn't really think it through, thought it through, but it was kind of irrational in the bigger scheme of things. Which you're right about the dad being right, but also he kind of needed that to kind of break away from the expectations that was put on him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this. Yeah, it's a really good fight between a dad and a kid too, because like I
Yeah.
think for some like there might be a line where you'd think, oh, this is too much. This dad's like abusive or something. But like for me, it was
Mm-mm.
like exactly like the fights you would have with your parents. They might yell at you. They might even swear. Like the dad's like,
Hmm.
"Where's the fucking money, Keith?" And I'm like,
Hmm.
it sounds really bad, but I'm like, it really reminded me of fights I had with my mom. My dad was really quiet and he was like less likely to explode. If he exploded, you knew something was really wrong. But my mom
Hmm.
would yell a lot and it was just like normal. And like, but you felt the love too at the same time. I thought they did a
Right.
really good job showing that line, like keeping
Yeah.
the line right there.
But I also like the way the dad starts it. Are you in trouble? Is something the
Mm,
matter? You know, like he's giving his kid the benefit of the doubt, and like, can I help you? You know, and then he doesn't start off with where's the fucking money. Like he he had to journey there for a minute. You know, so
yeah.
I think that's a total appropriate, not appropriate, but like as a dad, as a parent, you know.
That was a great point because it's more of a conversation instead of less of like accusatory and saying like, "Hey, you're not doing this. Why aren't you? Where's the money?" And projecting whatever his dreams and aspirations from earlier onto him. Just now, they've kind of had some common ground after this conversation, but it all
Yeah.
started because of how he asked him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Keith says, "You never listen." And he's like, "Okay, I'm listening." Like again, like I think that's a big deal even for an 80s dad, you know, like you can I don't know, or just a parent role. You can also see a parent being played out as pretty one-dimensional and just a hard ass, but this dad is trying, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
really sweet.
Yeah, Hughes also had a really great dad in like, 16 Candles, like having a heart to heart with his
Yes.
daughter. Like I think yeah, some of the moms are good too, but like dads in particular seem to be a thing in the John Hughes universe.
Hmm.
Yeah, these good
Hmm.
dads. Pretty in Pink too, these like dads who have
Yeah.
heart to hearts with their children. Yeah. So, and at one point, Keith says he's going to put the money back. Like, I don't really understand what he means by that. Like, is he going to give the earrings back eventually? Or is he just going to work really hard for another 4 years? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, good question. I've kind of forgot about that line and that, like, I'm going to make the money back. Of course I am. I thought this through and I'm thinking, geez, exactly. How are you going to do that, kid? What do you mean?
So Keith then tells his dad why he's doing this date with Amanda Jones, how he wants to show that like he's just as good as anyone. And the dad's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're only 18. Keith says, then I'm 19, then I'm 20. When does my life belong to me? And I think that's really deep. It's like hard to find a way to let go. Like where is that point where you become an individual? You know, it's like such a big issue for many people when they're that age. All right, we're coming now to the big date. So for this date scene is like insane in this movie, right? You have Watts is dressed as a chauffeur driving this like super fancy car. It's like a 3-part date. They're going to like a fancy restaurant, an art museum at night, the Hollywood Bowl, and then they're eventually gonna 4-part date, and then they're gonna go to Hardy's party. Just in general, like what are some things you thought about this date, this big date scene with Amanda and Keith being chauffeured around by Watts?
I just love how they're able to access the museum because of Duncan and Duncan's dad. I think it's a nice touch there.
Yeah, Duncan's dad is like the security guy. Yeah, that is like, yeah, I love how they brought these detention guys back in to be like part of this story. It's great.
Yes. Yes, they help break into things and set things up. But the best that Duncan's the skinhead and his dad's this like security guy cop person, like that moment of humor is pretty great. I mean, it
Yeah.
seemed amazing. I thought like that's how dates were supposed to be or something like that. You know, it's like, no, not really.
Yeah, this date is totally over the top. Like first starts this like fancy restaurant and like he's ordered caviar because right now he thinks that Amanda is part of this joke. And he's basically trying to show her, look at how good I am. Look at what a fantastic. And there's a little combative energy between them at this point too. You know, because Amanda isn't in on this. She's not trying to like fuck with him, but he's kind of like now picking at her a little bit. Yeah, and then the art museum scene, it should be noted that Keith takes her to this art museum at night so he can show her a portrait he has painted of her, which has been hung up on the wall. Like, that is pretty OTT. What do you guys, what would you think if you went on a date and somebody revealed a portrait they'd painted of you?
I would say that's a kind gesture.
Oh, okay. You're ready for it. You're there for it. Okay.
No, yeah, first date. Yeah, very over the top. Oh my God. I think I'd be a little horrified.
Yeah, that's like a scene from the thriller movie, the stalker movie that we could also have.
Yeah, the
except,
parallel universe horror flick. Yeah.
Yeah, except then you'd see like all the other different portraits they also painted before like Howard Deutsch was happy with the one they got. I think they'd be like littered all over the place. Yeah, no.
Terrifying.
And I think she got to keep that painting too, if I'm not mistaken, that Thompson. I think she got
they kept one.
Yeah, that's right. So now we have a scene at the Hollywood Bowl, which is like so common. And I think we've covered like at least 2 other movies so far that have scenes there. Keith kind of confronts Amanda about being in on the joke, but Amanda, he kind of figures out that she's not at this point. But she's talking about like, you know, she doesn't like to be alone. She says, I'd rather be next to someone for the wrong reasons than be alone for the right ones. And Keith says, I'd rather be right. And at this point, like Keith then also confronts Amanda about using him, like in terms of this date. And then Amanda tells Keith that he's using her too. Do you want to do this dialogue, Soph?
Sure. And you didn't use me? God, you hypocrite. What's hanging in that museum, huh? My soul? No, it's my face. You're using me to pay back every guy with more money and more power than you. Yeah.
Damn girl. Yeah.
She's right. That is the like thesis of all of these damn movies. They're like, I'm in love with this person. And it's like, you don't know them. They've never talked to you. They don't know who you are. And what is that? My soul hanging there? No, my face. And Lea Thompson says that was stuff that like she really felt in real life and loved the opportunity to be able to say that. So
yeah,
I think it was her moment.
Yeah. She said to Entertainment Weekly, people don't see who I am. They just see the image of me and project their thing on that, which is the truth about being a pretty young girl. I like that I
Mhm.
got to say some of the stuff I was feeling at the time in the movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so right, Sophia, because it is like so many of these movies, so many rom-coms in general that are told sort
Yeah.
of from a man's point of view. A lot of times there's this like beautiful, unattainable girl who he's never
Right.
talked to. And
Right.
it's like, you're supposed to believe this is true love. And it's like, this movie is really calling all those movies on their shit to some extent.
Yeah. And then, but yet we keep making them that way, and we keep telling those stories, and we watch them and put up with it, but yet that's why I think this film is so brilliant and so good and is just like kind of one of the best love stories. And
Yeah. Like think
Mhm.
about how many of the stories in Love Actually are just somebody who's like thinks somebody's hot and like pines away from them from afar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And that
love it.
reminds me of Can't Hardly Wait too.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Yes.
And I think
Exactly.
Jennifer Love Hewitt says exactly what you were saying to him when she didn't realize he wrote the letter at the end. If I'm not mistaken, I'm just trying to think of the scene exactly where he's projecting onto her all these things. He didn't even know her.
Yeah, I'll talk about that because it's in my double features actually.
Yep.
I'll talk about that a little more too there. So yeah, and so at this point though, they've had this heart to heart. Keith apologizes at this point to Amanda for kind of like, yeah, he realizes he was using her, but then he gives her these earrings and he tells her they're like every cent he's ever earned. And this is another moment where it's like it could be that stalker movie. It's a little over the top. Like, what would you do if somebody gave you something and they said this is worth all the money I ever made?
Yeah. Again, like on their first fucking date, like me, it's so bad. I would run the other way.
Neil, how
You?
about you? Would you think it was nice?
I don't think it was. It's very early for that, but it's. I would want to hear them out and hear what they were thinking.
Well, Neil,
Okay.
Neil, I'm going to say I think you are very nice and like a nice guy. Like a lot of guys get really put off, even more than a girl would be get really put off by stuff like that. So I'm going to say it's really good of you to like want to understand somebody's perspective and hear a little more. So
Mhm.
so points for that. Like that's cool. I think like I did receive some gifts from somebody who like admired me in college, but I wasn't into them, which makes a big difference. And he tried to
Right.
give me all these gifts to try to get me to like go out with him. And it was like, it was a lot. Like he just kept leaving
Mhm.
things on my doorstep. And eventually somebody on my hall had to like kind of a big guy kind of told him, Jennifer doesn't want to get these anymore. You gotta stop. Cause he
Yeah.
wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't back off. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
can feel like there's an obligation, and she does like try to give the earrings back at first, but then she
Yeah.
accepts them and I'm like, whoa. And then she's the one who kisses Keith, but
Mhm.
Keith does kiss back, and we see
Mhm.
this whole kiss unfold from Watt's perspective way up in the like the stands of the Hollywood Bowl watching
Mhm.
them.
Right. So like Amanda kisses him, and I wondered about that. Like, so is she into him now? Like, is this we're having feelings now, or I don't know. I wonder. What do you think?
I think she does have some feelings for him. I think she does develop a crush on him during the course of this date because of the way he treats her, the way he's willing to apologize to her and listen to her. So we're going to go to Hardy's party now, which I just realized, you know the expression party hardy? We're at Hardy's
Ah!
party. I don't know.
You're geeky.
I don't know if that was intentional or not on their part, but yeah. Yeah, they come into the party and right away Hardy is a total ass to Amanda. He asks Keith, "Did she do you?" And then he says, "I'm glad you got her used." Oh, I can't stand him.
Scuzz. Yeah, Keith lunges at him again. He stands up for himself. He stands up for the people he cares about. But
Yeah.
Hardy's friends get him off of Hardy, and Hardy says, "Take him outside and beat the shit out of him."
Yeah. But Amanda stands up for him then and says, "Deal with me. Like you're the one. I'm the one you want to talk to." And she offers to go back to Hardy, which, yeah. I mean, to be fair,
Ooh.
Keith doesn't want her to do that, but like she's trying to offer herself up. So, now I have a clip of Hardy's response to this.
What do you want?
You know what I want.
Okay. Okay, you want me back? I'm back.
Come on, it's not that easy. You're gonna have to convince me. I want you to beg.
Let him go.
Come on, you're a beggar.
with me.
Oh.
Bastard. You're gonna have to beg.
I don't think it's gonna be necessary. You know, I didn't know Jens lived in a hen house. Did you know that? Jeez. Must be a hen house, because I don't see nothing but chicken shit.
I don't want any trouble with you, all right? My parents are gonna be home in a little while. You leave now and we'll forget everything.
All right, man, let's just cut the bullshit, all right? Please? I'm here to wipe the floor with your ass, and you know it, and everybody knows it, and you deserve it. I think it's safe to say that this party is about to become a historical fact.
Oh, wait. No.
Okay.
Look, I'm perfectly willing to forget this. Okay? I see no reason in carrying this on any longer. It was a joke. If it's gone too far, it's over, okay?
You want the truth? You want the plain truth? You're over.
Are you just gonna leave?
There isn't anything I can do to him that he hasn't already done to himself.
Wish I could live with that.
The man that I approve.
Oh, thanks again, Duncan.
No problem. You guys go along, okay? We're just gonna stick around here, try to crank up this party to a nice, respectable level, okay?
Okay.
No, don't worry. I'm not gonna mess him up. I'm not even gonna touch him. Just gonna make him cry just a little bit, just looking at him.
Good night.
I played this scene as long as I did because there's nothing more satisfying than those Duncan and his detention friends coming in and busting up this party and taking over.
It's a great just humiliation to Hardy. Yes, it's perfect. And Amanda slapping him twice.
Yes. Can I just say, though, too, that this makes kind of Duncan the hero of the movie? Like, Keith is a hero. He stands up. But Duncan's the one who actually saves the day. And, so what I was talking about, I wanted a sequel. I wish back in 87 or 88 or whatever, they would have made a sequel where we see the love story that slowly builds between Duncan and Amanda Jones.
Whoa! I like it!
Very interesting.
That's rad.
I mean, it's a little far-fetched, but I could see it. But Duncan has to learn to be a little more respectful towards women, not with this punch in her apron one time for me business, okay? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, what about his girlfriend with no skin, right?
Oh, he does have a girlfriend. You're right. Damn it. Okay. Yeah,
okay, well,
sorry.
it's another triangle, and we'll see what comes of it, so...
You're right. He does have a girlfriend. He draws her picture. Well, that's over. That dream is over.
No, it's not over. We can work it.
Definitely. Or the relationship, I was going to say, with Shane and one of Duncan's friends. I forgot the guy's name, but that little thing at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Shane and that guy so much, but I would have liked to see. Duncan already has a girlfriend, but if he didn't, I would have watched that movie. I would have watched the Duncan and Amanda movie, whatever that might have been. I don't know. Maybe they're both a little lost in life and they both end up at the community college together or something. I don't know.
Oh, Jen, this is fantastic. Can you just fanfic this? Put it out on something?
Running a podcast, I do not have time for fanfic anymore, alas. I wish I did. Somebody take that idea and run with it, though, please. Please do. I will read your fanfic.
I do love how Duncan does put his head on Amanda Jones.
Yes.
Yep. So cute.
Yeah, he kind of cutely puts his head on her shoulder. That's Elias Koteas. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right because he almost steals the show in this movie. Yep. You know what I mean? I mean, every actor is so strong, but he really is they actually added more scenes with him because people liked it so much, what he was doing.
And all the cast spoke highly of him. They're he was so great. What a great guy. And I love that.
Yeah, and he's gone on to have a pretty big career as well. So
he sure has. Yeah,
he has, and because of this movie, it made me a fan of him. Because of the ending, made me more a fan of him towards any other thing he's done. He's always been Duncan to me since I seen him as a kid.
That's right. Me too. So like, yeah, I like that Keith is just content with saying like, you're over, and just like, he hasn't, there's nothing I can do to him. He hasn't done to himself. I like that he kind of realizes that Hardy's like already a loser on his own, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Keith, you could have realized that you didn't have to go all the trouble of buying these earrings and doing this whole thing, but no. Anyway.
Right.
So Amanda and Keith leave the party kind of triumphantly. Amanda's like laughing. She's happy with him. Watts goes up to Amanda and says, "I'm sorry if I misjudged you." And Watts has kind of accepted the situation, I guess. But then Amanda sees the way that Keith and Watts are looking at each other. And they give us, as the audience, a little hint. They show a flashback to that kiss scene in Keith's mind, which is to cue us that, like, oh, Keith is feeling something. I feel like this is a sign that they didn't quite write the movie quite well enough, like in the end part. That's my feeling. If you have to put a flashback in, maybe you shouldn't have gone so far in on Amanda. I don't know. What do you think? Is it okay for you guys?
I'm okay with it. I do understand that. Just like finally it clicks with Keith after everything. This is the moment where it's like, hey, there it is, and he sees Watts, and then notices that that's his love.
Before they go in, she's like, "I'll be here," and he's like, "Thanks," and they walk out, and she's still there, and I, for a second, I wondered, did she call the detention guys?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, did she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, nobody has cell phones, but
yeah, but somehow worked it out for them to be there, because it was the detention guys on their own. Like, let's just show, you know what I mean? That wasn't part of the plan, I don't think. So that's part of it, and like, so if that's the theory, he walks out and sees her and is like, she's got my back. I can go with that, because as a younger person, none of that fazed me. This, like, of course he loves her. Now I needed a little something to be like, what clicked for him in that moment. A couple things. Deutsch says in the commentary that he wasn't sure about that cut back to the kiss. He wasn't sure if that was the right thing to do or not, if they needed it, or was the look enough or whatever. And Hughes really wanted it to end this way. This is his dream ending.
So, like, for the one way it works for me is he's kissed Amanda now. He maybe has the opportunity to be with Amanda now. He has everything he thought he wanted. Like, maybe that's how it clicks for him. Maybe it's like he has the thing that he thought he wanted. And now maybe he's realizing, is it what I want? Like, or is that kiss that I had with Watts, like, did that like mean something more to me? I know that's the only way it kind of works for me, but I had to put it together for myself, really.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I was thinking that, like, hey, that finally clicks.
So we now see, Amanda is now noticing that Keith and Watts are looking at each other like a certain kind of way. And Watts has already kind of walked off, but Amanda gives the earrings back to Keith and says, "I'd rather be right." And then she says, "In your heart, you wanted to give these to somebody else." And like, Keith knows what she's talking about at this moment. But like, I always wonder, like, what if Amanda hadn't made this realization? What if she hadn't given the earrings back? Would Keith have just kept like going out with her to be nice, to be polite? What do you guys think?
I've never thought of it that way, but that's Amanda really was the catalyst for for that too, even though she saw it happening. So I could see maybe they would have continued on with the date. I don't think it would have ended on Keith's end at that point.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I feel like Keith would have, like, since he has been a little bit oblivious, I wonder if he would have just kept going out with Amanda for a little while or even longer. And like, I don't know. That's the one thing I find vaguely unsatisfying about the movie, to be honest.
Well, this is where I think Amanda's an awesome character and well written, is that she's like, I'd rather be right. And she says, it's going to feel good to stand on my own. And then it's exactly what Amanda Jones needs. She needs to, like, not go along with the crowd because she's yada yada. She needs to find herself. Again, a thesis for all these other rom-coms where it's like, oh, I'm just going to go with you, blah, blah, blah. Like, take care of you, do some self-care and what have you. And then in your heart, you want to give these back. I think that's really, like, lovely. And like, she's a good person. She's a good character. She's going to go places, baby.
They made the part much richer. And I'm glad that like Lea Thompson also brought such warmth to it in the end too. So
yeah.
Okay, so we come to the end of the film. Keith runs after Watts, calls her name. Now at this point, Watts is crying, and she lets Keith see her tears. And then he scoops her up. He scoops her up and picks her up and kisses her. Another really wonderful kiss that we have in this movie. And so, if you guys could do the really quick dialogue they have after
sure.
the kiss.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, well, you're stupid. I always knew you were stupid.
Why didn't you tell me?
You never asked.
Yeah, that's cute.
Okay, I have a problem with that dialogue.
Why?
What do you mean he never asked? Like, I don't know. I don't understand it. Tell me, play that out for me.
Well, he never asked her out. I don't know. I guess maybe it's her being a little traditional. That's how I read it. Like, why didn't you ask me out? Why are you going out asking Amanda Jones out? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's funny because Watts is such an atypical woman character, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm wondering if she wanted to be, asked out in a kind of gender essentialist kind of way. Like, that was way more common. Like, it's still uncommon though for women to ask men out. Even today, in the 80s, it was even way less common, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I totally wanted that too. I wanted to be asked. Yipper.
That's how I read it anyway. That's how I read this interaction.
Okay.
I just like the part where she's like, I always knew you were stupid though, because that's like such a friend thing. She's still ragging on him just like a friend anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we're getting the truth here. Everything reveals itself. They finally realize, or Keith finally realizes what's going on in terms of feelings towards her. And I love how it was mentioned before about Amanda Jo saying about the earrings, giving that to somebody else, because it rightfully went to Watts, who looked good wearing his future.
Yeah, that line. Yeah, you look good wearing my future. Yeah, but I keep wanting to tell both of them that, no, return the fucking earrings. Your future is paying rent.
Yes. Oh, totally serious. I know. I'm like, God, what a waste of money. Are they both that vain? No.
I'm so unromantic in this case. I'm just like, kids, like, you just want to take the money and like get yourself a decent apartment somewhere. Like, Neil, Neil, are you a romantic on this? Are you like fine with this decision on their part?
I kind of agree with that. I don't know about because he had other things going on. Maybe they could have used a better car. Also, I mean, that would have been would have been a better gift.
Oh yeah, seriously, right? Like, yeah, that car's on its last legs. My God. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's an interesting choice, but it makes for a nice symbol, I guess. I don't know. One more thing I wanted to put in: they show the characters walking off into the distance, like while the song by Lick the Tins, "Can't Help Falling in Love with You," is playing, which is a great song, by the way. But my husband's watching this, and he's saying, and this is what he said: "Where are they walking to? The car's the other way."
Again, a realist, not romantic. Like, they're just walking into the clouds. La, la, la. That's
no,
funny.
He's totally romantic, but like, I mean, he has a point. Like,
yeah,
they just left the car there, just walk away.
Yeah, and they left the keys in the fancy car too. Like, they're gonna leave it back at Hardy Jen's and just like hope nobody takes the car. I don't know.
That's
anyway.
Hilarious.
Maybe Amanda will take the car. Yeah, maybe she'll drive it home for them.
There you go.
She needs to get home too. God damn it.
Yeah, that's a great point. How is Amanda getting home? How are they getting home? I mean, what was the distance of that walk? All these questions.
I'm very concerned about how these people get home.
I know what's going to happen. Duncan's going to drive her home in the fancy car.
Yes, of course. I love this way you're thinking, Jen.
All right, so let's see. Masterson said about the film that the film taught the audience that friendship can be sexy, that a long-term partnership is built on respect and humor as much as it is lust. Which, I think I like that. I also think that kiss had a lot of lust in it, but still, I like that. I like what she's saying, though, that like love between friends. You don't see it in as many rom-coms as you might expect to, given how common it is as a way for people to fall in love, really.
Well, it's my favorite, like Anna Green Gables, baby.
Okay, so let's I really wanted to quickly touch on the soundtrack before we do double feature recommendations, but just kind of quickly, are there any songs that are standouts for you on the soundtrack?
Yeah, I love all the music on that. I was trying to think of the nightclub scene, that song when Keith was painting before Hardy comes in, that song that I was playing. There's a couple of different, it reminds me of, like we were talking about, a lot of the John Hughes movies, the music is just so good in them. And it just really key to a lot of the scenes and everything, especially the ending there. So it all works out very well together, especially the confrontation, that song that's playing. But I really love the music to this movie.
Yeah, I wish I'd written down which song goes with which scene, but I am putting in the show notes a site that does do that. So if you're curious about, what song is playing in which scene, it has those. She Loves Me by Stephen Duffy is like my pretty much all time favorite. I play that on repeat, but I also love the Can't Help Falling in Love with You cover so much.
Yeah.
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 And a lot of these are like really obscure bands that like either broke up like pretty soon after this movie came out, or like just people weren't like, they weren't huge or anything, but it's like a well put together mix. Like John Hughes must have really been into music at the time. Okay, shall we do double features?
Yes.
For my first double feature recommendation, I chose Fried Green Tomatoes from 1991. And the reason I chose it is another movie where you get to see Mary Stuart Masterson. And in fact, you get to see Mary Stuart Masterson playing a similar kind of like tomboy kind of role. Like, we didn't really say that she was a tomboy in our discussion, which is kind of funny. But she's like, she's an atypical woman. She dresses kind of more like a guy and she does things that are associated with men, right? Basically, in this movie, though, we get to see Mary Stuart Masterson playing a different kind of a tomboy. It takes place in two time periods. So in one, she's with Mary Louise Parker, and they're kind of may possibly involved with each other in a lesbian relationship. It's never really made 100% clear. And in the present day, we have Kathy Bates and Jessica Tandy in like having this relationship. And the whole movie is a lot about women taking control of their lives and kind of being independent and living on their own. And it plays out in so many interesting ways in both storylines. If you've never seen it, you really got to check out Fried Green Tomatoes. Fantastic cast all around, very heartwarming movie. My second double feature recommendation is The Sure Thing from 1985. This is another movie with young people, but they're college students. It stars John Cusack and Daphne Zuniga, and it's directed by Rob Reiner. And the reason I'm choosing it is because it's another story about a guy who kind of wants to get together with this like perfect image of a girl that he has in his mind. In this case, he thinks that there's this really hot girl in California that he's going to have sex with, right? And he ends up going on a road trip with his classmate, who's kind of just a normal but pretty looking girl played by Daphne Zuniga. She also has to go to California. And through the course of this journey, he may start to have feelings for somebody besides the perfect girl. So I think it's just interesting as another movie about image versus reality when you're falling in love. And have you guys seen The Sure Thing, just out of curiosity?
Yes, love it.
Yeah.
No, I never did. And
Oh,
I
babe,
love
yeah.
I know.
Get on top of that soon, because it's also got a great cameo by Tim. Well, not a cameo. It's got a small role by Tim Robbins, which is also hilarious.
Perfect.
Okay, and then my third double feature recommendation is for Can't Hardly Wait from 1998. And when I watched it for our podcast this time, I couldn't help but notice that the perfect girl character is also named Amanda. I feel like that had to be on purpose. And like you said, Neil, there's the confrontation. There's a scene where like Amanda sort of confronts her ex, very similar to the energy in Some Kind of Wonderful. The only thing that isn't similar is sort of the decision Amanda makes at the end of the movie, which I don't want to spoil too much, but like I think there's enough commonality to make it an interesting contrast of where this character was in the 80s as opposed to where she went in the 90s. So definitely check out Can't Hardly Wait, and check out our episode on Can't Hardly Wait, which we just released in our high school movie series before this.
So I chose for double feature The Year Spectacular Men from 2017, directed by Lea Thompson and starring her children and produced by her husband, because I love the family affair and families creating together. And it's a take on millennials in love. It was written by Madeline Deutsch, and she felt like there needed to be a love story and a relationship story for millennial people, and so over the course of a year and different relationships and how all that plays out. So check that out. My next recommendation is Space Camp from 1986, starring Lea Thompson, because I didn't know it was a flop back then.
Yeah,
We loved it. I saw it 5 times in the movie theater with my sister.
Dude,
Can you?
Yeah. I only saw it when it came out on TV and video, but I love that movie too. I feel you.
So great. So yeah, a bunch of kids go to space camp and they accidentally get launched into space and they have to get back home. Fantastic. And my other recommendation, my third, is Benny and June from 1993, starring Mary Stuart Masterson and Johnny Depp. And that is a love story between two quirky people and a story between a sister and a brother and kind of everybody finding their own way. It's beautiful. I love that one.
Nice.
And it's interesting. Some of the movies you picked was the ones I like a lot. Like Fried Green Tomatoes is one of my favorite movies ever. Comfort movie. I've watched that movie every time I watch it more than once. Like
Oh,
back to.
wow.
And then same thing with it was interesting. You picked The Sure Thing. That's my favorite John Cusack 80s movie.
Oh,
So
cool.
when I saw that, I was like, all right, let me go with Say Anything. I went with the obvious one for number one was Pretty in Pink. Even though they're different movies, things play out in the end maybe a little bit differently both movies. But John Hughes, it's just automatically for me it would be a back to back. I love both movies for different reasons, but that would be one of my picks. There are memorable characters in that movie as well as in Some Kind of Wonderful as well, and I think if they do pair well with each other.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I don't think that they're as similar as sometimes people say they are either, but like they both play with class so well.
Right.
Unlike the
Yeah.
class divisions in high school. So I totally agree with you. Great double feature there.
Definitely. And I was thinking when we were going through this, like I was thinking about the party scenes in both movies and the different class dynamics with a lot of the relationships going on. So it does play well off of that as well. And like, what would it be like if they all hung out together? I was thinking that too. We go down that road, like fan fiction, all that, another time. But like I said, my favorite characters are Iona from Pretty in Pink, and Watts is my number one favorite character. Some Kind of Wonderful John Hughes movies.
Yeah, great
and
characters.
Then, absolutely well written and very well acted. Annie Potts and also Mary Stuart Masterson, both amazing. I was going to go number two with Say Anything, and I was thinking of that as well because it does have an Eric Stoltz connection. Aside from him being in Say Anything, he also worked as a production assistant on the movie.
Oh, no
And
way.
just to kind of get better experience, which obviously later helped him out with directing. So he was like getting coffee from what I read and doing other little things. And then he also was in the movie too. But in regards to the dynamic there of like two opposites there with John Cusack's character and just really that love story going on there, I thought it was very interesting and apparent that her father being involved. Say Anything for me kind of closes out the 80s on like those 80s like teen movies or that time period. So I think that'd be a great pairing as well for that. And the third one for me is Trojan War. Now this movie came out in 1997. I don't think it's that. It's kind of like a little crazy, but the reason why I said this is because I feel like they kind of took a little bit of the plot from Some Kind of Wonderful and put that on this movie with the ending. So that when I first saw the movie, which was when I was really young, I was like, this looks very familiar. It doesn't have the same heart as it. It's really over the top 90s, what you would think of along the lines of American Pie, kind of. But with Jennifer Love Hewitt, it kind of plays into Some Kind of Wonderful. You could see the inspiration they took from it.
Yeah, you have the honor. Like, this happens very rarely that somebody actually comes up with a double feature that I'd never heard of before. But you have introduced me to a new movie through your double features. I went and looked it up, like the whole plot, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to see this someday. Because I'm like, this is like a totally different movie I've never heard of. And really great job of doing that because it doesn't happen that often.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. This is what we're here for. This is what the film Twitter community is for, about sharing ideas and being able to inspire each other and talk to each other about films that we love.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you so much, Neil, for coming on to the show today. It's been really great discussing with you and getting to know you like a little better. And once again, where can we direct people to get to know you online?
Absolutely. At Neil Believes on Twitter. I believe in rom-coms. That's what I do, and every rom-com. So that's why I'm here with you. And they can find me that on Twitter, and also Neil WB Photography, at Neil WB Photography on Instagram.
Definitely. And please listeners, do come and join the conversation because we're on Twitter as well at Every Romcom Pod. Neil's on Twitter. Like, it's not all people arguing and saying mean things to each other. There's definitely corners of Twitter where you can have some nice conversations with some great people. So come and join us.
Yay.
And on Instagram too. You can look at some beautiful pictures. So yeah, so coming up in our high school movies series for every rom-com, we're going to have 16 Candles. We're going to have Alex Strangelove. We're going to have To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and hopefully a few other treats. I think we're going to have Grease in there, Sophia. So finally you can have your exciting time with Grease.
Oh,
And
man.
yeah, I'm looking forward to all these discussions. And yeah, thanks for listening, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.